Good evening. This August 18th, 2026 Board of Aldermen meeting is hereby called to order. Is Pastor Dotson with us? Alderman Earhart, if you would lead us in an invocation in a moment, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, which I'll lead. Please stand.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me, let us pray. Most gracious God and our Heavenly Father, our Creator, our Sustainer and Redeemer, we give you thanks, Lord, for this day. Thank you, Lord, for the safety that we experience in Olive Branch. Thank you for our prosperity. And as we go forward in all things each day, Lord, I just pray that we would seek your wisdom and your guidance, whether we're running a city, running a business, or running a family, because we know that all things come from you, and that we should do all things to honor and glorify you with our decisions. May the decisions we make tonight be wise and pleasing in your sight. Lord, thank you for the forgiveness of sins, and bless this meeting. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Be seated. Just a reminder for anyone who speaks tonight, this meeting is streamed live on the city's YouTube channel and also archived for playback. And if you plan to speak tonight, one of the blue comment cards, you should fill one of those out up on the rail at the front of the courtroom and give that to the clerk to my right, your left. Board, and we should remember that when we're speaking, our microphones should be on green so that the audience can hear what's being discussed. Ms. Stewart, would you conduct roll call?
Aldridge. Here. Collins. Here. Dickerson. Here. Earhart.
Here.
Gamage.
Here.
Hamilton. Here. Wallace.
100% present, so a quorum obviously established. Board, you have before you the regular minutes of the August the 4th, 2026 meeting. Any comments, questions, or motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Ms. Hamilton. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Collins. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Break protocol and change locations just for 1 second. I'd like to ask our Special Olympian athlete, Joseph Tate, and his dad, Jose Tate, to come forward with us, if you will. And Mr. Ed Crumpler, are you planning to present as well? Ms. Diana Crumpler, come forward. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All right. We are pleased to recognize our hometown Olympian, our Special Olympics athlete, Joseph Tate, who on August in the 2026 Olympic Games in Minnesota, he won not one but 2 medals. He won a silver medal in the 100 meter and the running long jump. Is that right? And the bronze medal in the 4x100 meter relay. So these games took place in Minnesota, and we'd like to recognize our hometown athlete. I'd like to give you a memorabilia of City Hall, and the Crumplers have something they'd like to share with you as well.
I've never seen anything like this before. You want to hold them up?
Board, also, I'm pleased to announce there's not a gift to be handed because the gift was wired to us, but our friends Jim and Missy Flanagan have donated $37,975.33 to the Lick Creek Conservatory for a large raptor cage, and that's done in memory of their son, James Bennett Flanagan Jr., $37,975.33 in memory of James Bennett Flanagan Jr. They have relocated. They've moved out of the area at this time, but part of their catalyst for this was to encourage anyone else that may want to give to Lick Creek Conservatory to do that, but we're thankful to receive this and very appreciative of the Flanagans making this donation. Also, Board, you have some packets before you, a manual. That's from the Mayor's Youth Council, and that just wanted you to get a feel for what the staff has put together for the Mayor's Youth Council this year. We had 80 applications for the Youth Council. That's our limit. We had 68 last year and 80 applications this year, so we're looking for a real robust class, and if you look through that, I think you'd find it very interesting, some history and different challenges about the city and informational items that the Youth Council, I think, will sure benefit from. So special thanks to Ms. Jen Griffith for putting that manual together. Just as an FYI also, from Fire Chief Clark, he would like for you to know that Olive Branch Fire Department added 4 new certified paramedics after their graduation on August the 6th, 2026 from Northwest Mississippi Community College Paramedic Program. This is an intensive 3-semester fast-track program to obtain a nationally registered paramedic license. These are our employees that the city incentivized by paying tuition for them to get the paramedics program. And also we have 2 other employees that are currently in paramedic school, and 3 will start in January 27. So the board knows that paramedics are, it's a challenge to get that level of talent, and we're certainly pleased that the fire department has these individuals going through, and we congratulate the men and women that made it through the paramedic school and got added to the registry. Chief, anything else to say on that? Is that covered well enough, or? Yes, sir. Okay. Well, thank you. We're pleased to get those, without a doubt. Following the agenda, you have, Board, the consent agenda, more administrative in purpose. The items on the consent agenda, 1 through 27. I know you've had those to look over. If there's any questions or motions on the consent agenda, items 1 through 27.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Gamage, motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. Mr. Wallace. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Planning Commission, old business. This is a public hearing for consideration of an application for a zoning map amendment submitted by Greg Russell of Civil Link on behalf of Diane Stovall, James Allen Stovall, Revocable Living Trust property owner. The request is to rezone 50.87 plus or minus acres from the AR Agricultural Residential District to R1 Single Family Residential District for the purpose of creating Almondale Retreat, a single family residential subdivision. The subject property is located on the south side of DeSoto Road at the Marshall County line, approximately 0.86 plus or minus miles east of Center Hill Road. This was set on July the 21st for a public meeting today, and this will be led by Dr. Song.
Thank you very much, Mayor Aldermen. Before you is a request to consider the rezoning of a 50.87 acres piece of property that is located north of Highway 302 or Goodman Road, just south of DeSoto Road, east of Center Hill Road, and lying along the city limits with Marshall County. So this is the piece of property under consideration. It is currently vacant as shown on this map. Surrounding the property to the south the Center Hill Retreat subdivision that has been developed in a suburban style. Further to the west of this particular piece of property, this is where you have the Center Hill Plantation plant unit development. At this location, it's also undeveloped at this time. The property is currently zoned AR, Agricultural Residential District, shown on this map, and the applicant proposes that it be rezoned to allow the Almondale Retreat subdivision. This will be a single family residential subdivision. There is an accompanying subdivision plat as part of this particular application, which the board will have the opportunity to review. With regard to the rezoning criteria, the board is required to find whether the original zoning classification for the property as it exists today is a mistake. The applicant does not make any such claim that the existing AR zoning of the property is a mistake. The Planning Commission did find that the subject property was zoned AR in the 1980s. That's what our records show. It has been zoned AR since the 1980s. It was annexed into the city in 2021 during the last annexation, and there has been no change in the zoning classification of the property since then. As such, the existing AR zoning classification of the property is not a mistake. That particular criterion, therefore, is not met. The Board of Aldermen is also required to find whether the character of the neighborhood has changed to such an extent to justify the proposed rezoning, and not all, and whether there is a public need. With regard to the character of the neighborhood, whether it has changed sufficiently to justify the rezoning of this particular piece of property, the applicant submits that there have been sewer upgrades in the general area of the property since the 1980s. For example, Almondale Retreat to the south, Center Hill Retreat to the south, for it to have developed in this suburban style as opposed to the rural estate AR district configuration, it ought to have had sewer. The surrounding zoning system has also changed, so contests the applicant. We've mentioned the Center Hill Retreat to the south is zone R2, that's in the county, is zone R20. Those are lots that are generally 20,000 square feet in size, as opposed to AR lots that are minimum 1 acre in size. Now, in the county, R20 does not really mean minimum 20,000 square feet lots. There are lots in there that are far less than 20,000 square feet. It's a formula they use in the county and how they kind of call this R20, but it really does not mean minimum 20,000 square feet lots. There are lots there that are 12,000, 15,000 square feet in size. So, the applicant also contends that the AR zoning district, as it were, with a requested change for the rezoning, will provide a transition between the R20 lots to the south and the AR lots that will remain to the north of the property. The Planning Commission did find that yes, there have been sewer upgrades in this particular area, and the city, Dropyard, is also working on other sewer infrastructure expansion in the area. Generally, if you don't have sewer, the lots need to be minimum 1 acre, and so in some cases 1.5 acre, in order to have sufficient area and its duplicate for subsurface sewage disposal. But once sewer lines are extended into the area, then that makes it possible for the lots to be less than 1 acre in size. So we have had that sewer infrastructure upgrades that is going on in the area of the property. Secondly, there have been a number of rezonings that have moved this area from a predominantly agricultural area to a development in character that is more of suburban. Suburban residential development involve lots that are minimum 6,000 square feet right up to about 30,000 square feet. We mentioned the Center Hill Retreat subdivision to the south, and you also have the Center Hill Plantation to the west. This area has lots ranging from about 12,500 square feet to 40,000 square feet. in the Senahi plantation. So that's a change that has occurred in the area with regard to rezoning just in the last 20 years. With regard to whether there is a public need for this rezoning, the applicant submits that the rezoning addresses a continuous demand for single-family residential lots in the city, and it will provide for a more efficient land use pattern that minimizes sprawl, and it's also consistent with the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan of the city articulates the public needs of the area as has been determined by the Board of Aldermen. Comprehensive future land use map in the comprehensive plan designates the property as suburban neighborhoods. The requested rezoning aligns with the future land use map classification of the property, and as such, it meets the public need criteria. The Planning Commission at its meeting on July 14 did review this application and determined that the character of the area has changed in the last 3 decades from agricultural to suburban residential land uses following the extension of public sewer, the rezoning and development of multiple parcels in the area, and that the rezoning of the property to R1 will align with the Comprehensive Plan 2040 designation of the property as suburban neighborhood. As such, it unanimously voted and recommended that the Board of Aldermen rezone this property from its current AR district to R1 single-family residential. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Song. Board, any questions regarding the staff report before the applicant is afforded an opportunity to come forward? Any questions? Hearing none, Mr. Smith or anyone would like to speak to this for the applicant?
Good evening, Mayor and board members. My name is Greg Smith. I'm with Civil Link Engineering, and I am representing the applicant here tonight. Staff's done a great job of explaining what we're trying to do here, so I won't repeat much of what he said. Would like to point out that we are in conformance with your future land use plan, which slates lots anywhere from 6,000 to 30,000 square feet. We're asking for an R1 zone, which is a minimum of 12.5, but we're proposing 15,000 and larger. Some of the lots, I think there's one lot as large as 2 acres on this thing that you'll see later on should this get approved. We feel like that we substantially approved public need and change in the neighborhood that the staff has mentioned today. And we're just asking for a favorable consideration, and I could just answer any questions you might have about it.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Board, any questions from the applicant? Any questions for Mr. Smith? Hearing none, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Questions, discussions, or motions? Oh, this is public hearing. Thank you. This is a public hearing as well. Is there anyone here to speak as a proponent? You are for this application, or an opponent that you're against this application? Anyone scheduled to speak for or against this application? Final opportunities. Hearing and seeing none. Public comments is closed. Board, any questions, comments, discussions, or motions?
I make a motion we approve it.
Mr. Collins,
As
motion
presented.
to approve as presented.
Second.
Second, Mr. Gamage. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 2, public hearing for consideration of application to amend the project text for Marquette Manor at Robinson Crossing, submitted by Bobby Britton, Dabbs Cannabis Dispensary, on behalf of property owner Manveer Singh Development Incorporated. The subject property is Suite 125 at 5025 Church Road East, within Zone 8 of the Marquette Manor at Robinson Crossing, Zone PUD Plan Development Unit, and is located on the south side of Church Road East, just east of Pleasant Hill North. The request is to add medical cannabis as a permitted use in this unit. And before we start the staff report, if anyone here is to speak on any items tonight, any public comment items tonight, please complete one of the blue cards at the rail in the front of the courtroom and give that to the clerk, and they'll pass the cards to me in a moment. Staff report by Andrew. Where's that? There he is, Mr.
Thank you.
Andrew Hockensock.
Yes, thank you. The applicant is requesting to amend an existing PUD to allow the new land use at 5025 Church Road East, Suite 125, and so that's highlighted in that yellow outline right there. This is near the intersection of Church Road East and Pleasant Hill Road, northwest of the Margaret Manor neighborhood. The existing land uses in the commercial spaces include a restaurant, a vape store, a nail salon, a barber shop, an insurance office, and a liquor store. So that's currently what's in the area. So starting with the state distance requirement, state law requires that cannabis dispensaries cannot be located within 1,000 feet of the nearest property line of any school, church, or child care facility. This proposed location satisfies this requirement, and as you can see, the radius is there on the screen. So going into the city-specific requirements, Section 14 of the Scheduled District Regulations and Article 5 of the city zoning ordinance describes the purpose of the PUD district, and it's so that this custom zone can provide for the development of planned total communities that provide a full range of residential types as well as certain commercial, office, or light industrial uses designed to serve the inhabitants of the districts consistent with the comprehensive plan. And so when someone submits a PUD application, they have to present a list of permitted uses within each planned unit development, and that will be ultimately approved by the Board of Aldermen. So saying that, this has already been submitted previously as a PUD rezoning request. Now, the applicant today is essentially resubmitting that same application but requesting to add one land use, and that is the retail of medical cannabis. And so here from that old PUD document, I took a screenshot where it has all of the zones that they have described laid out with particular land use, prescribed land uses, and so they are going into what the original application calls Zone 8. So as you can see here, they're just requesting to add the medical cannabis dispensary specifically in Suite 125 at in that retail bay. So that concludes the presentation. Planning Commission did recommend approval 4-1. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hockenstock. Board, any questions on the staff report? Does the applicant or applicant representative wish to add anything?
Hi, Amy Silcio, 11201 Old Goodman Road. I do have some handouts. Would it be okay to approach? Thank you. Good evening. Again, my name is Amy Silcio. I'm the Vice President of Human Resources and Development for Dabbs Cannabis Dispensary. Dabbs is a Mississippi-owned, veteran-owned company currently operating 26 locations across the state of Mississippi. One of them currently already located in Olive Branch. We are the proud company we have built. More importantly, we take the serious responsibility that comes with becoming part of each community while we serve. Bear with me, I'm used to speaking about compliance to employees, not the city, but we'll get through it. I want to keep my comments tonight focused on the purpose of Margaret Manor's project text and one simple question. How will allowing Dabbs at Margaret Manor improve this development in the area of Olive Branch? Before I address that, there is one important piece of the context I'd like to point out. When Margaret Manor project text was adopted, the Mississippi Medical Cannabis Act did not exist. There was no legal medical cannabis program for the project text to contemplate. What the project text did contemplate, and already allows, are retail and healthcare uses. Today, Mississippi Medical Cannabis Program brings those two together. I want to emphasize one word tonight: patients. The people we serve must have a qualifying medical condition, receive a medical recommendation from a certified physician or nurse practitioner, and then be approved by the Mississippi State Department of Health before they can participate in this program. They are recognized by the state, the DEA, and us as patients. This is a highly regulated industry. In addition to the oversight through the Mississippi State Department of Health, dispensary is regulated by the Department of Revenue through ABC, and I'm happy to say that DABS has actually completed all 26 applications, as well as completed all of our DEA audits. The regulatory environment today is very different from the one that existed when Margaret Manor text was written. We aren't asking the city to change the original vision for Margaret Manor. We are asking the project text to recognize a legal, highly regulated healthcare retail use that did not exist when the vision was created. I think the best way to determine whether DABS belongs here is to look at the standards of the project text itself that have already been established. It says development within Margaret Manor should provide supporting neighborhood services, enhance surrounding property, reflect sensitivity to adjacent land uses, encourage the highest quality development, create a unique sense of place. Those aren't standards we created for this presentation. They're standards established for Margaret Manor. And tonight, I'd like to show you specifically how DABS is committed to improving each one of them. The first one, we will improve neighborhood services. The first goal is to provide supporting neighborhood services. This is an area where DABS can make a real and measurable improvement. There is currently no medical cannabis dispensary serving the west side of Olive Branch. Our patient data demonstrates that the need is already there. Our current Olive Branch location serves more than 3,800 patients in total. 1,066 of those patients live in Olive Branch.
How many?
1,066 of our patients actually live in Olive Branch itself, yes, sir. 453 come from South Haven. And I want to point out, this is only our Olive Branch location where our patients come from. 453 come from South Haven, 358 Byhalia, 244 Hernando, 157 Horn Lake, 113 Nesbit, and 108 Holly Springs. These aren't projected customers. These are patients who already travel to DABS and Olive Branch for their healthcare needs. And access is especially important when we consider who these patients are. Approximately 85% of the patients we serve are over the age of 60. Many people don't realize that. These people are living with debilitating conditions, serious illnesses, and terminal diagnoses. For these patients, improving access isn't simply about convenience. Reducing how far an elderly patient or someone battling a serious illness to travel for their health care matters. So when we talk about how this amendment can improve neighborhood services, we aren't talking about creating a service and hoping people use it. The patients are already here. The need is already here. What we have is the opportunity to improve access. At DABS location at Marguerite Manor would improve access for more than 1,000 Olive Branch locations we already serve, while also providing more accessible west side location for hundreds of patients already traveling into the Olive Branch area from surrounding communities. At the same time, it gives those patients another reason to come into this area of Olive Branch in particular, where their visits can benefit other businesses located within and around Margaret Manor. We improve neighborhood services by bringing in existing needed healthcare service closer to the patients who already depend on it. We improve Margaret Manor by bringing an established patient base and additional activity into this part of the city. Number 2, we will improve and enhance the surrounding property. The second goal of the Project Text is to enhance the surrounding property. For DABS, that means something very simple. The property should be better when we are there. DABS has committed to improving the property, not simply by occupying the storefront. We have committed to maintaining a clean, professional exterior and investing in the landscape and exterior improvement that will improve the appearance of our location and complement the surrounding development. We have also committed to improving security beyond our own front door. DABS will extend our exterior surveillance coverage beyond our immediate storefront, including toward the neighboring area near Pop's convenience store. We know that there was a robbery at Pop several years ago, and while that incident was some time ago, it's one reason to believe our security investment can provide a benefit beyond our own location. And we've actually been able to assist the police in our current location in Olive Branch with incidents that have happened along Goodman in front of our store, as well as next door at Firehouse, and a few other things that have happened. We are more than happy to provide more security for the area. By intentionally positioning surveillance to provide additional coverage of the surrounding area, DABS can help improve visibility and security for our neighbors, as well as our own patients and employees. We understand that becoming part of Margaret Manor also means accepting responsibility for contributing to the quality of the overall development, and we are committed to doing that. DABS is committed to improving the appearance of the property, improving security, and contributing to the overall quality of Margaret Manor. Our standard is simple. If DABS becomes part of Margaret Manor, the property and area around us should be better because we're there. This is how we enhance the surrounding property. The third, we will improve through thoughtful integration. The third goal of the Project Text is to reflect sensitivity to the adjacent land uses. To us, that means understanding that we aren't just investing in our own storefront. We are becoming part of an existing development, and our responsibility is to improve the environment we share with the business around us. DABS is committed to being intentional about how our location fits within Margaret Manor. Our landscaping and exterior improvements will complement the development. Our expanding surveillance will provide additional visibility beyond our storefront, and the professional standards we maintain at our location will contribute to the overall appearance and atmosphere of the property. We want the businesses around us to benefit from having DABS there. Our current Olive Branch location established a patient base for more than 3,800 people. A West Side location gives us an opportunity to bring some of those patients into Margaret Manor, introducing them to not only DABS, but to the businesses around us. We want our patients to discover those businesses. We want our presence to contribute to the activity within development. And we want the investment we make in this property to contribute to the experience of everyone who works, shops, or visits there. That is what sensitivity to adjacent land use means to us, recognizing that our success should contribute to the success of the development around us. We aren't coming to Margaret Manor simply to look for a place to operate. We are coming with a commitment to be a good neighbor, make meaningful improvements, and become an asset to the business and properties around us. Number 4, we will improve the quality of the development. The fourth goal of the Project Text is to encourage the highest quality development. I think this is one of the most important things we can offer the board tonight. And that is, you don't have to speculate about the quality of business DABS will bring to Margaret Manor. We can show you. We already operate 26 locations across Mississippi and have established standards for what DABS location should look like, how it should operate, and how it should represent the community around us. Our locations are designed to provide professional, healthcare-focused environment that is clean, secure, attractive, and professionally maintained. We invest in the appearance of our properties, landscaping, technology, and extensive security systems. We even position our computer monitors so that patients can see what our employees see during a transaction, because transparency is part of the standard we expect. But the quality of a development is more than what you see from the outside. It's also the quality of the business operating inside. DABS has established company-wide standard operating procedures, operations manual, employee handbook, structured employee training, and ongoing leadership development. Our locations are subject to regular compliance audits by their directors each month. We continually train our employees and leadership because maintaining a high-quality operation requires more than just opening doors. It requires continually maintaining the standard. Our investment in security is extensive. Our products are laboratory tested, accompanied by certificate of analysis, and tracked from a seed to sale system through the Mississippi regulated system. We heavily invest in our people. We believe quality development should create quality employment, and DABS has made competitive wages. We actually have the highest wages in the state. Employee development and opportunities for advancement are part of our investment in the communities where we operate. These are not things we are proposing to someday create for Margaret Manor. They are standards we already operate under today. State regulation establishes what we are required to do. DABS establishes the standards that we expect of ourselves. And we are committed to bringing that same standard to Margaret Manor. When the project text calls for the highest quality development, we believe that means attracting businesses that will invest in their property, invest in their employees, operate professionally, hold themselves accountable, and continually work to improve. That is the kind of business DABS has already built. And that is the quality of development we are committed to bringing to Margaret Manor. And the last one, we will help improve and create a unique sense of place. The final goal of the project text is to create a unique sense of place. To DABS, a sense of place isn't something a business creates by simply putting up a sign or improving a building. A sense of place is created when businesses become invested in the people and the organizations that make the community unique. And in Olive Branch, we have already started to do that. DABS has made monetary donations to the local American Legion Hall, supporting an organization that serves veterans and the families of this community. But that relationship became more than a donation. I was invited to speak with local veterans to provide education about cannabis and the medical cannabis program. I also understand that a young lady from Olive Branch had the opportunity to represent Mississippi and Washington through the American Legion Auxiliary Girls National Program. That's a great example of why we believe supporting local organizations matters. The impact those organizations make reaches far beyond any one donation. And our commitment isn't limited to one donation or one type of cause. We see tremendous value in supporting many different types of organizations because every community has different needs. During Christmas, we have held toy drives to support local families. When we learned about individual families in Olive Branch who were struggling or needed help, DABS has donated directly to the members of this community. Across our company, the same philosophy has led us to support veterans, law enforcement, and first responders, animal shelters, blood drives, children's organizations, community cleanups, family in need, and other local causes. We don't believe community involvement should fit into one category. We believe in identifying where we can make a difference and showing up. That is creating a sense of place for us. It means knowing your community around you. It means participating in it. It means supporting the organizations that it serves. And it means recognizing when someone in that community simply needs help. We are already doing those things in Olive Branch. Margaret Manor gives us another opportunity to deepen that commitment and improve our connection to the west side of this community. We want to invest in the people around it. Because when businesses invest in people, organizations, and needs of the community around them, they don't simply occupy a place. They become part of what makes it special. I want to close by going back to the first question I asked at the beginning. How will allowing dabs at Margaret Manor improve this development in the area of Olive Branch? I believe we've answered that tonight. We will improve neighborhood services by bringing needed healthcare access to the west side of Olive Branch, particularly a patient population that is overwhelmingly over the age of 60 and includes people living with debilitating and terminal disease illnesses. We will improve the surrounding property through the commitments we have made to landscaping, exterior improvements, professional appearance, and security that extends beyond our own front door. We will improve the environment we share with adjacent businesses by being a good neighbor, bringing an established patient base to the development and making investments that contribute to the success of the area around us. We will improve the quality of the development by bringing a proven Mississippi company with established operating standards, extensive training and oversight, strong security, quality, employment, and a commitment to continually raising the standard we expect of ourselves. And we will improve the sense of place by continuing what we have already started in Olive Branch, investing in its people, supporting its organizations, helping its families, and showing up when the community needs us. Those are the 5 goals established in the Margaret Manor project text. And DABS approves each one of them. We are simply asking for an opportunity to bring that same commitment to the west side of the city. If you approve this amendment, our commitment to you is simple. Margaret Manor will be better if we are there. We will enhance Margaret Manor. We respectfully ask for your approval, and now I can check this off my bucket list. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Board. Any questions of the applicant?
If I'm not mistaken, your location on the east side is at Hacks Cross at DeSoto Road. It's on Hacks Cross, correct?
It's it's actually off of Old Goodman Road. It's a little past Hacks Cross. It's right next to Firehouse Subs,
Domino's.
All Boys, and
Okay.
the biscuit
Yeah.
shop. Yes, sir.
Have you served, what, like 3,800? You said 3,800 patients so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
We've been there. It was 2 years in July.
okay.
Yes, sir.
Is this number, 85% of the patients over age of 60, is that consistent in other counties and statewide, or is that
Yes, sir.
unique with this area?
That is definitely our experience statewide.
Okay.
If you pull, believe the Mississippi State Department of Health also has a breakdown by age group. If you pull that information,
Okay.
you can see it there as well.
Is that one of the requirements, if you go in there, what age you are? Or you have to show your ID?
Yeah, so to get your permit, you have to be 21 years old
Okay.
with 2 doctor recommendations. If you have to wait until you're 25 if you want to only have to get 1 doctor recommendation.
Okay,
Yes,
well,
there
I
is
wondered how you
age.
came up with the 85% over 60. Are y'all collecting that data when
So
you come in there?
85% of those 3,800 people are over the age of 60 that have come to visit us.
I think his question is, how do you collect that? How do you
How do you
obtain?
know that?
We have a point of sale system where we have to enter all the patient information when they come in, and it's just like a doctor's office, that we have to include all of your personal information, your
Okay.
patient number, and it actually connects to the state system. And so we have all of that information in our system. to
Okay,
pull. Yes,
thank
sir.
Ma'am, I had 2 quick questions. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name when you first started.
My name is Amy Silcio.
Amy, thank you.
Yes, sir.
You operate 26 locations in the state of Mississippi, right?
That's correct.
And how long has DABS been in business?
3 years.
3,
Almost 4.
okay.
Yes, sir.
How many employees do you have?
Almost 200.
200?
200, yes,
Okay.
sir. We'll actually be opening in Oxford, so we'll be, on Monday,
Okay.
we'll be adding to that as well.
Are you operating in any other states or just Mississippi?
No, sir, we are only Mississippi, and our owners, Tony Wallace and Bobby Britton, are Mississippi gentlemen and will not go out of Mississippi.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Additional questions? Thank you. This is a public comment item, but I do not see any comment cards. But is anyone here to speak for or against this proposed application? Seeing none, public comment section is now closed. Board, any discussion, questions, or motions?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion to approve as presented by Alderman Dickerson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Earhart. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Ayes have it, the motion carries. Next item, please. Public hearing for consideration of appeal of Board of Zoning Adjustment decision regarding application for a conditional use permit submitted by Greg Smith of Civil Link on behalf of property owner CIP LLC. The request is to permit a Dropyard facility to be constructed for a period of 10 years. The 35.0 plus or minus acre subject property is zone M1, Light Industrial District, and is located on the west side of Ross Road and on the north side of Nail Road. Staff report, please. Dr. Song.
Mayor Alderman, before you is a request to consider an appeal of a Board of Zoning Adjustment decision, as you did mention, regarding a drop yard at this particular location. So this is Nail Road, this is Highway 305, and this is Nail Road. So the property you're looking at is actually a combination of a number of existing parcels. It is not a platted lot. There are multiple parcels which put together make up that 35 acres. And it's right there at the end of the improved section of the right-of-way of Nail Road. Just south to the piece of property is an industrial warehouse. FedEx is at this location. GXO is right here. And to the north of the property, you have West Sandwich Road, and there are residential developments in this particular area. So this is a general area in the city that we are looking at with regard to this request for a conditional use permit for the drop yard in the M1 Light Industrial District. So the property is zoned M1 Light Manufacturing or Industrial District. It allows drop yards as a conditional use. What this means is the applicant must go to the Board of Zoning Adjustment and get approval for a conditional use permit. To get that approval, the applicant has to meet all the general conditions for a conditional use permit, but also drop yards in the M1 and in the M2 district have about 9 very specific conditions to them that the applicant is also required to meet all of them. So they are the general 5 or 7 general criteria for a conditional use permit, and then they are the specific criteria for a drop yard, just as we have specific criteria for things like convenience stores with fuel pumps or truck stops in the city, that the applicant is also required to meet all of them. So the request before you, basically this is an appeal of the Board of Zoning Adjustment decision. The applicant had requested to construct a 252 parking spot drop yard. Will be a 24/7 operation, valid for 10 years at this particular location. This is the site plan that was proposed. The Board of Zoning Adjustment reviewed this application at its meeting on June 11, 2026, and determined that the applicant had not met all the conditions of the conditional use permit. As such, the board denied the application. The applicant appealed that decision to you within the 10 days appeal period. When appeals of Board of Zoning decisions are brought before the Board of Aldermen, the board hears that application afresh, as if nothing happened at the Board of Zoning Adjustment, basically. As such, the presentation before you will go through the same conditions of review that the Board of Zoning Adjustment had, and present why the Board of Zoning Adjustment made the decision that it made, and the Board of Aldermen will have the opportunity to make its own decision that will either override or sustain, maintain the Board of Zoning Adjustment decision. The applicant has to prove, the burden of proof is on the applicant, and the applicant has to prove that all conditional use permit criteria stipulated in the zoning ordinance with regard to drop yards have been met. So the question before the board really is, have all those conditions been met? The first criteria is whether the proposed conditional use will adversely affect the character of the area. This is the subject property under consideration. There are two main elements, or three, that define the specific character of this area. You've got the industrial piece. So there's an industrial character element to this. So I did mention you have FedEx here, you have the IDR industrial warehouse building, all of those to the south. You also have adjoining this piece of property to the north, single-family residential homes. So this area in yellow contains single-family residential homes. The Board of Zoning Adjustment did look at this particular application. Along Craft, this is the location that has been proposed for the Career Tech. The Board of Zoning Adjustment looked at this particular application and determined that while a drop yard may be fitting in the character of an industrial area in the sense that it may take businesses, you have trucks going into an industrial park, it may provide an area, additional area for those trucks to park. Locating a drop yard basically in the backyard of a single-family residential development is not appropriate. There is not an area in the city where you have a drop yard directly behind single-family residential homes. That was the determination of the Board of Zoning Adjustment with regard to the character of the area. If the property were totally surrounded by industrial uses and you had no residential development out there, it could be appropriate. When you have trucks going in a 24/7 operation, you have the beeping sounds, the noise, and all of that. That is not conducive for residential living, for example. So that was a determination that the Board of Zoning Adjustment made. The second is whether the proposed conditional use will overtax public utilities or community facilities. Water, sewer is available in the general area of the property. The board did not determine that it will overtax any of those utilities. Whether the proposed conditional use will substantially increase traffic congestion or other hazards. This was a question that the board wrestled with, in the sense that although you have this in an industrial area, is it the case, for example, that traffic for trucks going down on 305 entering into particularly this intersection could increase in any significant way because of additional trucks? You have 254 parking spots that will be accessing, going down on 305, going in on Nail to park at this particular location. Basically, one way in, one way out. There was no traffic study in front of the Board of Zoning Adjustment that made the case against any kind of increase in traffic. It is certain that, of course, there will be trucks there that are already possibly using that industrial park, but you can have additional trucks just as you have in other drop yards in the city. Along Old Highway 78, for example, there are drop yards there, and trucks constantly go in and out simply because they want to use a drop yard. They are not going to any of the industrial buildings. The fourth is whether the proposed conditional use will increase the danger of fire, flood, or otherwise endanger the public health, safety, or general welfare. The character of the area falls into the general welfare argument, and I will also touch on this in one of the specific conditions that applies to the state of roads and the general welfare of the city when it comes to drop yards in general. Will the proposed conditional use substantially diminish or impair property values of adjacent properties or the neighborhood? There was no evidence submitted by the applicant in front of the Board of Zoning Adjustment to the contrary. And the board was concerned that with a drop yard behind single-family residential homes, that is concerning. Will the proposed conditional use comply with the recommendations of the Comprehensive Plan 2040? The Comprehensive Plan designates the property as industrial distribution. Industrial distribution, of course, can include industrial warehouse buildings. It doesn't necessarily have to be drop yards. A drop yard, of course, is an industrial operation. It would align with the comprehensive plan, but the comprehensive plan is not limited, the board found, only to drop yards. You could have other industrial distribution buildings at that particular location. And there is sufficient land area, for example, in this particular area where you could put up a building and be outside of the ditch. With regard to specific conditions that are applicable to tractor trailer storage yards in the M1 zoning district, not M2, please. This should be M1. It's a typo. District with regard to those specific conditions that are applicable to drop yards. The applicant shall submit a development plan for approval conforming to the requirements of the design review ordinance, except as the requirements of that ordinance may be amended by the specific provisions. So this is a site plan that was submitted by the applicant. It did show, so the area, the dark area here, that is basically the drive aisles, and all of those lines, those are the 252 parking stalls. So this is proposed to be paved initially, while the parking stalls are proposed to be gravel and to be a different surface, not paved surface, and then fully paved over time. 24-hour on-site management shall be provided, located in a permanent building conforming to the requirements of the design review ordinance. The Board of Adjustment may waive this provision upon the applicant demonstrating that alternate management and security provisions will be provided. Most of these drop yards these days really do not provide an office building in the front that is managed with a guard, because these days you can have cameras and monitor them from anywhere. That's the way most of them operate, and the Board of Zoning Adjustment took that into consideration. All areas used for access, maneuvering, standing, parking, and or display of vehicles, trucks, trailers, heavy equipment, and cargo containers shall be paved. This is mandatory. It's a shall be paved with Portland cement or asphaltic concrete surface. The zoning ordinance is very specific on how this has to be done. It was found the Board of Zoning Adjustment determined that the applicant did not meet that requirement. Fifth, the party conducting the use shall be responsible for any off-site improvements, water, sanitary, sewage, drainage, or road improvements as determined by the city engineer required to make the subject site usable for the proposed use. The fire department reviewed this application and determined that for this number of truck parking spaces, it would be necessary to have fire hydrants out there. If you had a situation where any of those trucks caught on fire, you will need to have fire hydrants installed across this particular piece of property. The site plan did not include the provision of those utilities. With regard, this condition is important. The party conducting the use shall submit a performance guarantee acceptable to the city in an amount and for the time period established by the city engineer to guarantee that the city streets are properly maintained to city specifications as long as the proposed use is operated from the subject site. With the permission of the mayor, this is a letter that the mayor had sent out to the board, and it was also available to the Board of Zoning Adjustment back in 2024. It was available to the Board of Zoning Adjustment at the time that the board reviewed this particular application. It beautifully analyzed the impact of tractor or drop yards on public streets in the city and what general welfare benefit that has or does not have to the city of Olive Branch. For example, large trucks damage the streets of Olive Branch. Surveys made of the streets where drop lots are currently located and adjacent streets reflect damages likely made by heavy loaded trucks. Loaded trucks weigh approximately 80,000 pounds and damage streets. In the last 24 months, if you look at 2024, the city has spent over $12 million resurfacing roadways, have a multi-year plan in progress to continue resurfacing streets, and additional damages to the streets, which was just not called for. The subject site shall not be visible from any adjacent public street or residential area. If it is adjacent visible, then the applicant is required to provide a 20-feet high berm to buffer the residential area or the street from the drop yard. There exists a berm on Nair Road, so it's more than 20 feet high. From Nair Road, you'll not be able to see the trucks parked on this particular piece of property. But from the residential area to the north, it will be visible. And the site plan did not include such a 20-feet high berm. The Board of Zoning Adjustment, therefore, on June 11, 2026, reviewed this application and determined that all the criteria have not been met. As such, it denied the request based on two main elements. One, adverse impact on character of the area with regard to the residential area to the north. You also have a career tech proposed within that particular area, beautiful building, and the board wrestled with the question of should you have a building with this aesthetic looking this way, and then within the same general vicinity, you have a dropyard. Secondly, the non-conformance with the zoning ordinance. The design review ordinance, there are a number of elements in there that the plan submitted to the city did not meet those elements. With regard to the paving of the dropyard, all of it has to be paved, provision of the berm, non-visibility from the residential area, landscape plans, and fire protection measures. These were not provided to the board. The recommendations before the Board of Aldermen. The board has a number of options that it can consider. The first is, upon finding that all the criteria of the conditional use permit application have not been met, the board may affirm the decision of the Board of Adjustment. Secondly, upon the Board of Aldermen's finding that all the criteria have been met, the board may approve the request for a conditional use permit at this particular location for the 10 years or less. The board has the option of reducing the number of years if the board so desires, subject to a number of conditions, 1 through 10, as provided herein. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Song. Board, any questions regarding the staff report?
How close are they to the homes on Ross and Sandage? Don't they back right up to it?
The ones on Sandage will back right up to it.
And there's already noise complaints from the warehouses there.
Yes, sir. The ones on Ross, we get noise complaints all the time, especially from this warehouse.
And it's across the pasture and down the hill.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Any additional board questions? Does the applicant have anything else to add?
Mayor and Board, Bryant Cashin, 11 Highway 305 South. I am representing CIP LLC. I gotta put my glasses on, I'm getting to where I can't see. CIP LLC, that is Mike Bailey, the widow of Bill Pass, and the widow of Jimmy Eubanks are the owners, as well as myself. We are asking for this drop zone, and if you look at the map, it would be perfect if we could fit a warehouse on this piece of property. But we have a ditch that goes through, and it is a logistical nightmare to try to get a warehouse into this piece of property. I do believe through my conversations with some of the members of the city that the conditional use for a drop yard is so that the board could maintain where these went in M1 zoning and across the city. And to Song's point about road and road damage, the letter that was sent in 24 by the mayor to the board, I do believe that the city received approximately $2 million to build that road, Nail Road, to standards to uphold truck traffic, specifically for the FedEx place. And I can be corrected if that's not true, but I'm about 100% sure that the city received a grant to build that road to truck traffic standards. We talked to a couple of things about the properties to the north on Ross Road. I know it's in the deal that says that property values could be affected. We talked about that in the Board of Adjustments. There is no data that the city has provided through the planning department where this is true. However, to the contrary, I have in my hands from the DeSoto County Tax Assessor's Office, 7679 Sandage Road. I will not name the name of the lady that owns it. In 2021, her tax bill was based on a $67,000 value. And the assessor's office has assured me to make sure to assure you that this is not true market value, that it is some percentage less than the market value. Thank goodness for all of us on that. As of 2025, that same piece of property now, through the 2025 tax roll, is valued at $96,000. We also have one another we talked about over on the street here by the warehouse that comes down. I don't have a pointer to point to it. Right there beside the warehouses, 5760 Ross Road. It, in 21, had a tax valuation of $48,000 compared to 2025 of $70,000. So we have, there's, like I said, no actual data that supports the home value could be affected by this. If there would ever have been a home value issue, it would have been the day that this property was zoned M1, because within the M1 zoning, and I know you all are familiar with this, and I'm going to point out a few things from our viewpoint. Things that can go on this piece of property that does not require any of your permission. Manufacturing. So we could build a small manufacturing building on this property and have 282 parking spots without anybody having to approve that. So unfortunately, nobody's going to need a manufacturing with 282 parking spots, but that legally could happen if we foresee to do that. Cannabis cultivation and or processing facility, sexually oriented business, including strip clubs and adult stores, aluminum can processing and recycling, and then numerous manufacturing that would have some type of noise going along with that would be hard to handle. So I understand that we are trying to have smart growth, but we also are looking to a piece of property that currently the city is getting hardly any tax revenue from. Through my conversations with Stephen Goett at the assessor's office, upon this construction starting, this property will be assessed at somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000 per acre, as well as any structure built on it for the tax purposes. And as far as some of the other things that Assam brought up that where we have asked for some deviations from the reg, we are conceding to remove the compacted concrete to asphalt or poured concrete, agreeing to the 20-foot berm, the landscape plan, which is not required for initial approval. We will be more than happy to submit that for final approval once approval is given. And when we met with the initial meeting, we had representatives from the fire department there, and we agreed at that meeting to pipe 8-inch water pipe along with fire suppression systems all through this development. So basically, we are now offering, with your approval, to remove some of the things that we were asking not to do, the 20-foot berm, so that is, I'm gonna turn it over now to Greg Smith with Civil Link. So if you have any technical questions, unless you have a question for me concerning anything that I've said here today.
Mr. Cashin, I did have a couple.
Okay.
Thank you for your comments. And I think your concessions are definitely warranted because they were needed. I had a couple of questions, though, that if this were to be approved, whether it's here or another location, I know it's a 24-hour station or proposed to be, and it will be manned and secured. One of the questions I had, though, will idling of the diesel engines be allowed? Because that's a concern to me. I know I'm not a truck driver, never have been, but I do know sometimes when it's cold or hot, they keep the engines running for air conditioning and
Sure.
warmth when they sleep over. That's a noise issue and a fumigation issue, if you will, a fume issue.
Sure.
So how would you address that?
Well, first off, I'm glad you brought that up because if you noticed, I got all these little notes drawn and I missed one, and that gives me an opportunity to bring up a point of what this really is. When I say drop yard, I don't know that we're all on the same page. I don't know what all the definitions are. I know that planning has a broad definition. What this is designed for, what our intention is, and we will put this in writing every how we want to, every how we need to. This is not a day parking deal. This is not for someone to bring in 280 trailers and park them and leave them like we have in some parts of the city. This is more designed for the individual that drives a truck, that lives in a subdivision in Olive Branch and doesn't have anywhere to park his truck over the weekend. This is for someone to come in and pay us a monthly fee to come in and park his truck or her truck, whoever it may be, and whenever they need to get it, they can go and park their car, get in their truck, and they can leave and go work and bring us our goods that we all need. This is not a daily, it's more, I would say, more on the lines of what you see at Crow's Truck Stop, which is just across the state line, where he has some 700 spots that are full, where people show up on Sunday night, they get in their truck and they leave their car parked there. They come back on Friday night, get in their car and go home, visit their family, and then they come back and leave. So as far as the diesel engines, I don't know that, I can't sit here and guarantee you that some guy's not going to show up in February and crank his truck and let it run for 10 minutes. But I think based on the 20-foot berm, and if you look, and I don't have a pointer, and it's tough to do, but there's a lot of ground away from these turnarounds between the homes. So by the time I think the city's ordinance requires us to do a 20-foot berm with landscaping on top of that. So that's about as good as we can get about monitoring that.
But this is not a parking lot for overnight stay.
No,
This
it is not. No, it
as
is
you
not.
said,
So it will be manned, and as far as the security part, it will have the automatic, everybody has been given, it would be given gate codes, so we'll be able to track who's coming and going, license plate readers, and may at some point in time, if we had to, we would probably man it throughout the night. But we do not look for this to be a come and go everyday type situation.
Okay, thank you. One other question. Since it's open 24 hours, do you propose any limitation of someone rolling in at 2 in the morning and dropping their truck off, or starting at 3 or 4 in the morning, crank it up and leave?
We would have the same regulations probably as FedEx. Whatever time they get there, they're going to be there, and whatever time they leave, they would leave. I mean, they can't. We wouldn't really have any control over that, nor is there any control over any of the other things in this industrial park.
Asong, are you aware of any limitations on hours at the FedEx facilities? Is that 24/7 pretty much? As far as, I don't know, I'm just.
FedEx is 24/7, sir, but if you look at the location of FedEx, it does not back up to residential.
Right.
So FedEx is kind of like isolated on its own. FedEx is a 24/7 operation, and it's uniquely separated from anything residential.
Okay.
Well, I would say too, though, this I don't know if you can see this, but all of this in here is butted up next to residential, and it doesn't have any type of, that I know of, any type of restrictions on time. Like I said, this is a conditional use, and we realize why the conditional use is there, but I don't know that, I think we can do everything we can to protect the people that live on Ross Road or Sandage Road there, but I think this is a better option for them and for us than some of these other things that are on the list.
What kind of berm are you planning on putting up?
Well,
is it going to be a brick wall, or what kind of berm are you going to put up?
The reg is a 20-foot earthen berm. Okay. So, and I'm going to speak out of turn here, Alderman Gamage, but I got Greg here to back me up. So if you do a 20-foot berm, so at the peak of the top is 20 foot from ground level, but when you do the slope off of that, it's about a 75 or 80 foot wide earthened deal that will be at the top will be a fence, of course, along with vegetation. So how wide would that be, Greg?
Well, you're doing 3-to-1 slopes. You got 20, 60, it's actually be about 130 foot
So it'll be 130 foot wide with a 20 foot at the top, and then at the top, we'll come in and plant vegetation on top of that, I believe is what's
Well,
required.
that's been a concern, the residents on Ross Road.
I understand.
As Alderman Wallace said, they was promised one thing, and they have no way of keeping that noise off them at night. Trucks
That's
coming
true.
in, bumping the docks and things like that, so, one other question, you talking 250?
50,
One way in, one way out,
two ways in. One way in, two ways out.
okay. Well,
So this, if you look right here, the fire department, which we didn't want to do, and would love if you could see fit to strike it from this, we'll be more than happy to take it out and put some extra fire hydrants in there. But we've got can you say that?
I got the same
You
thing.
got it? So that is a emergency only entrance there in case something was to happen. So if we don't want to put that in, we don't want to touch any of that residential, we'll burn the whole thing and do whatever we need to do, because that is 250 feet of road that is basically a dead expense that we would love not to touch Sandage Road.
Yeah, I mean, if you was planning on connecting the egress and ingress to Sanders Road, that's not a truck route.
No, that's just for emergency, that's just for
Only.
fire, because
Okay.
they'll have a gate code, I guess that's how they do that, I'd have to check with the fire department how they'd want that, but that's just for police, fire, and ambulance services to come into the property. No one would leave there unless it was an emergency of some sort.
Okay.
But like I said, if there's a way that we can do it and we can up the water or do whatever we need to do and cut that off right there to completely cut that off from Sandage Road, we would do that as well. Like I said, we want to be good stewards of the city, but we have got to find something that fits on this property due to how it lays. And this, through our land plan with Civil Link, this was the best case scenario for what we could do for this piece of property.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Cashin, you got a warehouse in front of this.
Yes,
Have
sir.
y'all got their written permission or have y'all approached them, how much they would like this? Because this was all zoned as a PUD under warehouses, and this is a change. So,
To
does he
my-
still own them?
Do I now?
He doesn't own that warehouse, does he?
No, that was, I guess, and I'm speaking out of term because I'm not exactly sure who owns what through there, but my guess is that land was sold from this group to IDI. They built the building, and now they've sold it to, I think
That's
it's
what I
Barrett
agree.
Industry. So, when I would tell you that IDI has looked at this and has basically said they don't have a use for it, because again, I can't point to anything that y'all can see, but basically, right down this line here is a ditch that comes in and crosses right here. And there's no way, unfortunately, 10, 15 years ago, Mike and them had an opportunity to move that ditch and didn't realize that it was one of those things that they moved it, that would be great, but that opportunity would go away when the administration changed. And when the administration changed back in, I forget which one it was, but one of the administrations changed that, and now they can't get any clearance from the Corps of Engineers to move that ditch. So now we're stuck with having to work within it. Of course, we all know that they probably didn't move it back in the day because it was expensive to move a ditch this size, but at the end of the day, I would say they felt like that if I got approval today, then that approval is going to be here for a while. And then if I ever find a company like IDI that can build a facility here, they would come in and move the ditch, and then that didn't happen.
Okay. I understand what you're saying. We went through a lot of this getting this rezoned and promote, and, I don't know if the IDI who bought that thought it was gonna be a drop yard. I don't know if the residents thought it was gonna be a drop yard. I just, and you're gonna add what, one employee or two employees?
Sir, I don't, what
Can't
you
be-
say, huh?
You gotta be minimum employees.
How many employees would staff it?
It would be limited.
Can't be many.
It wouldn't be many at all. It'd probably be some part-time help to come through and check and make sure that There's no garbage and things are cleaned up, but minimal employees.
Yeah, normally I'm for business, you know that. I don't know how it really helps the city, us doing it, and a lot more trucks.
Well, I would say that I would say from my standpoint, and CIP standpoint, hopefully the city, and it's one of those deals, it's kind of like the planning department's allegation that this is gonna hurt property values. This is me pulling it out of the hat, but, you know, if you have 252 people pulling in late at night at a truck stop, pulling in a truck that's gotta park it, their meter stops when they turn off the 305 on Sandage. So they can drive up to that 10 hours, and as long as they can get off of Sandage, they can pull right in the QT, fill up with fuel, get a cheeseburger, a piece of pizza, go park their truck. When they leave, they hopefully maybe stop back by there and get gas. You know, that's where the city, I think, not only is there gonna be some property tax increase, but hopefully you're gonna have some sales tax off of fuel and the other things that are done there. Now that's, I can't justify it, I can't prove it, but I can't prove that it's not gonna happen as well. Like I said, we're just trying to find something that will fit, and we've got, like I said, two.
I understand what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
So I just have some apprehension about it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Any additional questions of the applicant?
I got one question.
Okay.
You've agreed to do the berm and the concrete and everything. Why didn't y'all agree to do it at the Board of Zoning Adjustment? You probably wouldn't have got turned down, so now.
Well,
how are you
no,
asking?
so it's, really, to be quite honest with you, we're unprepared for what we got at the Board of Adjustments. We did not think that what we talked about was gonna be that big a deal until we got here the night of and saw, and then, did not realize that in the Board of Adjustments packet that we were not provided was a letter that the mayor wrote saying basically, turn this down because we're not gonna get any benefit out of it. And we really kind of walked up against a loaded gun just right out of the gate with the Board of Adjustment.
But the letter had nothing to do with berms and concrete.
Well, we talked through the concrete, and, you know, to be quite honest with you, didn't really think that what we were offering was a big deal. Our original meeting with the mayor and Asong basically was the one that told us that, hey, this thing was put into place 20 years ago to discourage people from doing it. And if you want to try to do something different, put us together a plan. We did, and it failed miserably. So that's why we have, you know, 100% failed. So.
And just for full transparency, that letter, ladies and gentlemen, was a 24 letter regarding not this drop lot or truck yard, but any drop lot or truck yard that brings a high number of trucks in that damage our streets, and the city gets little to no tax money. There's usually a guard at a metal building, and some of these are down to $10 and $12 a night. A very cash-rich business, and I doubt the city sees a lot of that tax dollars. And that was my stance in 24, not particularly about this site,
That's right.
just any sites, because we've got enough trucks in and out of this area.
That's true.
But it wasn't specific just to this one, Mr. Cashton.
No, I understand.
Any additional questions?
I don't know that it's necessarily gonna hurt the property value, but the information you provided was not based on the value increasing of the house, but the appraisals that happened statewide.
Correct.
That had nothing to do with anything, you know, whether the property has gotten better because of M1 or M2 or whatever. That's just, everybody's went up, so.
Well, that's true.
Okay.
Brian, some of these things that were required by the Board of Zoning Adjustment and Dr. Hassong and stuff were just the standard.
Sure. I understand.
Things. They were just standard.
That is true, 100%. And we tried to put together a plan that we felt like was better. And like I said, so that's kind of why we have realized that if we want to get this approved, and this is the place to you know, to say, hey, we were wrong, and this is what we can do. And there again, if If the board sees fit to approve it, great, and if they do not, then we'll go back to the drawing board and try to come up with something. But I don't know that what I come back with, one, that you'll ever see it, and two, that you're gonna like it. So I don't know, you know, it is what it is, and, but one thing I will say, and there may be 100 people here today against it, but the Board of Adjustments who got the same letter and notification, not one single person showed up. Not one single person on Sandys, not one single person on Ross, not one single person out of Cedar Creek, Cedar Crest, not anybody showed up.
Well, they may not show up, but we get the emails and the phone calls. I promise you that.
I understand.
Mayor, may I make a comment?
Yes, ma'am.
I drove out there yesterday, and I drove down Ross Road and to the end of the Sandage Road. These poor people, there's no silence over there for them if this comes in. We followed a FedEx truck out that took the FedEx lane and took the Sandage exit with no emergency. I mean, he just decided he didn't want to go out Nell Road. So, now my brother drove a truck. I'm not against truckers, but I do know that when they decide they're going to go a certain route, they're going to take the shortest route to get there. We're already 10, maybe more years out getting 305 widened to even think about adding 252 more trucks to exit out of there. So I have a major concern with what's best for our citizens when it comes to the safety. I have seen Nell Road exiting on the 305 where it's lined up, and I can see where truckers are gonna find another way to go out. They'll go out Church or Craft. They go down Craft at my location, and both ends it says no trucks, but they take it anyway.
Sure.
So I think we, as a board, have to consider the safety of the citizens when we're talking about this particular location for this volume of trucks, not even considering the noise for the people on Ross and Sandage. That's all.
And Mayor, I have one last question for staff or Mr. Cashin. The picture you have on your computer, which we have, I don't know if the public can see that or not, but do we know at this point what is immediately to the east of that area in red and to the north of Nail Road? Has that property been sold yet? I mean, I know it has the permitted uses of M1, which can be warehouses and other things. But do we know if that's been sold or any plans on that yet?
I don't know, is the Alderman referring to this property or to this one?
Both of them, but primarily the one at the bottom, just north of Nail Road.
There was a warehouse that was proposed on that location. I think we actually reviewed plans about 3 years ago, but I think because of the economy, it didn't move forward. There's actually these two, this parcel and this parcel, we had approved plans, I believe, for industrial warehouses on these two locations.
Okay.
There were two buildings proposed here. But just because of the way the economy kind of changed, those have not been constructed. One of the things in line with that, we took the size of this building just to scale, and we were able to feed it on this piece of property outside of the ditch. So this piece of property can be developed for something different from a Dropyard. It is developable. It has developable area outside of a ditch. Certainly not as large as this one.
Right.
But comparable to this. It has a developable area with parking spaces outside of the ditch. It's there.
And immediately to the north of the two properties we just discussed is that still AR or is that M1?
No, so this is.
Didn't we approve the RV park right
yes,
there
sir.
next to this?
Yeah.
Yes, this is approved for ROV park.
Okay, that's what I was wondering if that was the exact property. Okay. Thank you.
Welcome, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Cashin, and board, just for transparency as well, Mr. Cashin, when he appeared earlier in my office, he clearly said if the board doesn't want this, then let him know what will go here. He's trying to develop this 35 acres, and he approached the city in a professional manner and said if this is not what the city wants, for the city to tell him what the city would allow there, was his comment to me. This is a public comment item. Is there anyone here that is a proponent? You're here to speak in favor of this application. You wish to see this application go forward? Seeing none, if you're here to speak in opposition, I believe we have Jark Rogers listed to come forward. In opposition to this application, come forward.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Men and women of the board, good evening. Just want to make this short. I think you guys have covered everything. This is a simple case of give and take, or cause and effect. We give, they take, because they want this, the effect is what we receive. And what we're looking for in Olive Branch is a type of structured growth. This falls under the category of extractive, which is parasitic. Just going to give you some guidelines. I heard the representative mention facts to the matter. I brought those with me today to review. One fact is simply that the heavy wear and tear on the road grids or services without paying proportional upkeep. Leveraging loopholes, I just want to mention that. The applicant did mention about the grants that were provided. However, there's no type of supporting investments from this particular request. Also, we must think about when a parasite latches onto an object, you know, he sucks them dry and then goes and finds something else. The serious damage that I see daily as a citizen traveling to and from work and various other activities just can't be absorbed. And I know he did mention FedEx. We do want business and to support our citizens in this town, but I think FedEx brings about approximately thousands of jobs, as well as other investments into the city infrastructure. And then, as Alderman Earhart mentioned, the pollutants that this will cause is simply, unfavorable. These individuals in these communities and neighborhoods, they've seeked out Olive Branch, Mr. Mayor, as a great place to live and work. Even the national recognition within our some of the media identifies with that. So I think I would like to implore the applicant, as he continues to say, what can I do? As you stated, he approached you. Let's work together to look at something that's going to be productive, more specific to a better outcome for not only the applicant, but the city. We are responsible stewards of our resources at this time, and it's something that we must take very seriously. So right now, I got to stand before you, Mr. Mayor, just in opposition of this, and asking the board to consider your citizens and your community stakeholders. I'm going to leave you with this last thing sitting there. I saw a lot of uncertainties as a representative of an HOA board. They all say, I'm going to do it until they get in there. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. I know we want to support each other, but I'm going to ask just for that we not clap, because one side can clap as well. And once we start the clapping contest, then we're liable to be here all night. So just support each other, please, without clapping or any kind of outburst. Mr. Chris Gillespie, are you here to speak in opposition to this?
Chris Gillespie, 7657 West Sanders Road. Thank you, Mayor, Board. Just real quick, keep it short. When they applied for it with the Board of Adjustments, they obviously did meet the requirements. What have they done different now that they can come back and say, well, yeah, you can get it now? And they haven't done that. And like Mr. Nickerson asked him, why didn't you do it at first? Well, they never thought about it. And Alderman Gamage, with the people on Ross Road, they were promised to burn, never got it. And who's to say that it get approved and they say we'll do the berm last? We're in phase 2. We ain't got to the berm yet. We're in phase 3. We ain't got to the berm yet. And me being a resident, lifelong resident, it's kind of dear to my heart because it backs right up to my property. Been there all my life, family, everybody. And I just want all of y'all to kind of think about this. If it was a drop yard that was gonna come to you all's neighborhood, your backyard, would you vote for it? Would you approve it? Just keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gillespie. Not at this point. Jacqueline Jones, are you here to speak in opposition?
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Alderman. I'm here on behalf of the property at 7647 Sandage Road, and I appreciate the presentation and the details, but I didn't hear any benefits for the residents. None. Only thing I heard is what the city would benefit from, and you wouldn't need to benefit it if you didn't vote for it. So, and the property value. No one's house is sold based on the assessor's value of property. As you said, everybody's property went up. But who wants to buy a house that's backed up to a drop yard? The homeowners would have a very difficult time selling their home, and they will have to drop the price of that sale if someone just wants to buy the home. The security, I mean, I heard, well, 1 or 2 employees, you know, that hasn't been defined yet. I thought I heard something about cameras. Normally, the crime has already been committed when law enforcement is informed of it. So that's not going to stop crime. That's not going to prevent anyone from doing anything. And lastly, it is I consider it a danger to residents, to children who may get into that area, and we know they all have a way of doing what they want to do. It's just not a safe environment, and it's just not good for the residents. There were no benefits to the residents if you approve this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Anyone else? Public comments section is hereby closed on this item. Mr. Cashin, you may come back forward and give information.
Mr. Mayor, Board, it is evident that people showed up tonight that is not in favor of this. I can tell by how some of the comments from the board has been. We respectfully withdraw our application if that is allowed, and we will find something that fits on this property that doesn't require any kind of vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cashin. Application hereby withdrawn.
Mr. Mayor, I will make a comment. Mr. Cashin, you did mention something earlier about the zoning and what could go there. Yes. I'm not so sure that if y'all come back with something, in fact, you wouldn't have to come back in certain cases.
Correct.
That the residents may get something worse than what they, and I understand that there's some opposition to it, but we've had this situation before where we turned down something and the people got something worse than what they had anticipated they were going to have before, and had buyer's remorse, wish they'd taken the deal that they had. So
well,
I know that people are, you've gotten emails and you've gotten questions, we've had comments tonight, but there are situations that they could put a warehouse there or some kind of small manufacturing plant, and it would never come back to anybody to say yay or nay. So
that is true, and just so we're all on the same page, that was not a threat, because I promise you, if I tried to open a strip joint, my wife would kill me. And if I tried to do a cannabis, you know, I even told her, I said, we're gonna name it Ken's Cat House. But she was like, you better not do that, I'll kill you. But also, we wouldn't do the cannabis. So we're gonna try to find something probably in the manufacturing or small warehouse and move forward.
Got to be over 60, 85%. The cannabis users are over 60.
Yes, sir.
Just
Yes,
remember when you market that. Thank you, sir.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Next item, following the agenda, consideration, public hearing and consideration to amend the zoning ordinance by adding various definitions restricting indoor and outdoor smoking in public place establishments within 500 feet of public parks, specifying criteria for data centers as conditional uses in the M1 light industrial and M2 heavy industrial districts only, limiting the height of freestanding monument signs in the office area and neighborhood commercial C1 districts to 8 feet, and in the C2 highway commercial, C3 general commercial, and C4 planned commercial districts to 12 feet, and specifying the size, location, and height of on-premise and off-premise signs in the M1 light industrial and M2 heavy industrial districts. The public hearing was set on July the 21st for this particular item that we're about to hear today. Dr. Song?
Thank you, Mayor. Alderman, before you is a request to consider amending the current zoning ordinance of the City of Olive Branch by doing a number of things, adding various definitions in the zoning ordinance for clarification purposes. So often words are used in the zoning code. They may mean different things in different cities. So each city, the words may be common, it may be a technical word. It's very important that we clarify exactly what does that word mean in order to avoid confusion when it comes to implementation of the zoning ordinance. As such, various definitions are proposed to be added to the zoning ordinance regarding things like what is a cigar lounge, what is hookah bar, what is a data center, what is a data center accessory use or structure, what is a data center energy system. So those are words that are proposed to be added to the zoning ordinance. This is very important, especially when if we are adding a section to the ordinance that addresses something that is totally new. For example, data center. What is a data center? Everybody, that word is common out there, but it may mean a lot of different things to different people, especially with regard to what goes on inside the structure. So that is the first element that this amendment proposes. The second is to address smoking and vaping around public parks. Public parks are supposed to be places that are inviting. They are open to use by the general public at large. Everybody should be able to go there and use it. Sometimes certain activities, especially with regard to things like smoking, in close proximity to the park can be deterrent to folks with various health conditions in particular. So to ensure that the public parks remain open, inviting, and usable by the public at large, the proposal is to limit or restrict vaping activities and smoking within 500 feet of public parks. Of course, there may be certain uses that have designated smoking areas. You may have a particular use that has a designated smoking area, a business, on that particular piece of property, especially if it exists already, that will become kind of what the common term is grandfather, so to speak. That is covered in the zoning code. Before I come to the element on data centers, with regard to reduction in the maximum height of freestanding signs, the office district serves as a kind of a transitional district between residential area and more intensive commercial areas. But somehow in the zoning code, the signs that are permitted there are as intensive as those or intrusive as those permitted in the commercial, in highly intensive commercial zoning district. So this change is intended to recognize that difference, that transitional difference as one goes from residential to commercial areas. The same with neighborhood commercial C1 zoning district. So the proposal is to reduce those signs in height from 15 feet to 8 feet to make them more transitional, more conforming, less intrusive with adjoining residential districts. And also to reduce the height of signs in the highway commercial C2, general commercial C3, and planned commercial zoning district C4 from 25 feet to 12 feet. We've been practicing this policy in the city for about the past 5 years, but it's never really been in the books. we want to give it teeth by actually putting it in the books. If you look at the sign, the old Shine Time, Old Town Car Wash, what was previously Old Town Car Wash, that sign is 12 feet high and is clearly visible to everybody on Highway 305. If it were 25 feet high, rather it looks like when you're driving under the sign and you can't see it. So we've been implementing this 12 feet high policy in the city for a while, and it hasn't posed any problem to anybody. We just want to make sure that we have it in the books, and as such, it gives some teeth, it gives staff some authority when enforcing that particular regulation. With regard to signs in the M1 and M2 zoning district, size, height, and locations, the zoning ordinance, the only districts in the city of Olive Branch that allow signs that are larger than 100 square feet, really permit signs up to 400 square feet, is in the M1 light industrial and the M2 heavy industrial districts. A sign that is 400 square feet large is basically a billboard. So really billboards, one can say billboards are only permitted in the M1, M2 districts in the city. But there is no distinction between on-premise and off-premise signs. A billboard is an off-premise advertising sign. So you could have, let's say FedEx, for example, their sign could be a billboard, 400 square feet large. You could go on Goodman Road, Legacy Park, and have one of those industrial Amazon put up a sign, 400 square feet large. That is what our zoning ordinance basically currently permits. The clean-up here is to make a distinction between on-premise signs that usually should be smaller in size, maximum 100 square feet, just as you have in commercial areas, and off-premise advertising signs, which are up to 400 square feet large. Those off-premise advertising signs will become subject to conditional use permits, as opposed to on-premise signs that are treated just like signs for any other business. So if these were approved, a billboard in the city will have to go through a conditional use permit approval by the Board of Zoning Adjustment. A key reason for that will be to ensure that wherever that billboard is proposed, the character of that corridor is taken into consideration. It's important to avoid a situation where you have too many billboards along a particular corridor, and driving down the city, all you see are billboards I sometimes have in certain highways. The second element about this with respect to locations is the distance between these very large off-premise advertising signs is proposed to be increased from 1,000 feet to 2,000 feet to avoid the overcrowding of these corridors. That's the purpose, to avoid the corridor becoming overcrowded. And for height, the billboard signs will remain maximum 35 feet high, but for on-premise advertising industrial use, that will be reduced to 12 feet high, just as we have in commercial areas. With regard to data centers, which I wish to focus on as far as these particular regulations are concerned, the M1 zoning district in the city has this particular language for permitted uses. The zoning ordinance has conditional uses and permitted uses. Permitted uses are permitted by right. Anybody wants to do anything on that particular piece of property, all you need to do is to submit a site plan to the city, is reviewed, approved administratively, and the applicant goes in and puts up the building or proceeds with the development. It does not go before the Board of Zoning Adjustment for a conditional use. It does not go before the Planning Commission. It does not come before the Board of Aldermen. So permitted uses, one of the permitted uses listed in the M1 and as such also permitted in the M2 zoning district is this use number 6. It says wholesale merchandising or storage warehouses with or without accessory retail sales and offices. Data centers, as they are commonly known, are essentially storage warehouses for data. That's really what they are, with or without accessory components associated with them. So if somebody walked into the city of Olive Branch today with a data center application, that person could argue that all I have in front of me is a storage warehouse for data. And as such, in the M1 district, I'm permitted by right. In the M2 district, I'm permitted by right. The person could make that argument, and we will not have a leg to stand on based on this particular provision. In this regard, the city is pretty susceptible, exposed, so to speak, considering the negative externalities or the impact that data centers pose, just as from what we have seen around us go on in Memphis, go on in other cities like South Haven. The proposal, the first thing with regard to this is to remove data center from the possibility of it being a permitted use and making it a conditional use in the M1 and M2 zoning district. As a conditional use, they will be subject, therefore, to all the general conditions of a conditional use permit. I'm glad we just went through this experience with a Dropyard. So those are the general conditions, those 7 conditions, those are character of the area, impact on traffic, all these conditions, those are general for every conditional use permit that comes in. It gives the Board of Zoning Adjustment a lot of teeth to be able to vet the application. If it were approved or denied, let's say it was approved, anybody affected, the way the city ordinance reaches, anybody who is affected by the decision of the Board of Zoning Adjustment can appeal it to the Board of Aldermen, and the board will have the opportunity to look at that particular application. Right now, the board has no opportunity to look at anything. If it was submitted, it will be built straight away. So this is intended to move it from being kind of a permitted use by right to making it a conditional use permit, subject to review, decision by Board of Zoning Adjustment, appealable to the Board of Aldermen. As a matter of fact, any alderman, the mayor and any alderman, can ask that it be appealed, can appeal and require that it be brought before the board. Basically what city's regulation says, anybody affected by it, anybody can appeal that the decision should be brought before the Board of Aldermen for action. So there are those general conditions, but also there are specific conditions that are proposed in the text before you with regard to data centers. Just as you had the general conditions for Dropyards and also some very specific conditions. In the same way, same thing with convenience store with fuel pumps. There are some very specific conditions. You must be at signalized intersection, for example, to have to qualify for a convenience store with fuel pumps in the city. In the same way, you have the general conditions for the conditional use permit that will be applicable, and you will have some very specific conditions that will be applicable to data centers with regard to their review and permission as conditional use permits. What are these specific conditions? They address issues of locations, setbacks, things that will be prohibited. If we receive an application, one of the requirements is that the applicant will have to submit a utility and infrastructure plan to the city. That is critical. This particular use across the country has significant infrastructure demands with regard to power, with regard to water, for example. And right now, we don't have any of those in the books. None of such requirements exist. These particular regulations will specifically provide and require any applicant to provide to the city a utility and infrastructure plan. There must also be a site plan. That plan must address how will power be provided to that particular facility in a way that it does not pose any negative impact to residents of the city of Olive Branch. Water and wastewater. Do we have sufficient water in the city? The plan must address water and wastewater issue. The plan must address the provision of gas, community digital ecosystem footprint. Sometimes data centers are not all together. Everything about them is not negative. It's not negative. It's not just also about, you can have a vacant piece of property that is developed and taxes increase because of that. But they can also provide a certain digital footprint with respect to optic fibers that can be beneficial to hospitals, to other institutions such as schools. All of those elements, how would this benefit the city of Olive Branch, so to speak, beyond just the tax element? Ground and roof mounted equipment. Data centers, if you look at the picture in front of you, that is an example of a data center. They have a lot of equipment often on the roof and also on the ground. It can really turn an area into a cluster looking overcrowded and losing the sense of aesthetics. How will all of that be buffered or be screened? The regulations call for the provision of those measures. Screening and accessory structures, cooling and energy systems. A lot of the water that is used in data centers is really about cooling. You have to cool those computers, otherwise they will catch fire. So how would those be cooled in a way that water in the city is not negatively impacted? The aquifer and so on, water availability, water pressure. Perimeter fencing and security, how will all of that be provided? The regulations also include performance standards. Often, public opposition will regard to data centers focus on these 4 or 5 main things. Noise. The experience from South Haven is significant. Generator and testing. You have all the turbines, the generators that are producing all this noise. Cooling. Waste heat that comes from these facilities. The computers, they keep running 24 hours. You stock all of them in one giant building, you get a lot of heat coming from there. How do you manage all of that in the city? So the regulations are intended to address all of this. I will speak to a number of the key adverse impact or negative externalities elements and key points in the regulations that are intended to address this. The first has to do with noise. A number of provisions or stipulations are proposed in the ordinance to address the noise issue. One of the approaches used is all data centers are not the same. They're not all the same. They are in different tiers. There are some of them that are more intensive, what is called a super scale, the XAI. Those are usually the large ones that create all the noise. There are some data centers that don't even provide or do not need external redundancy measures, external turbines and so on. They don't include all of that. So the first tier, these are low-intensity data centers. They're less than 50,000 square feet in gross floor area, less than 10 megawatts peak electrical demand, less than 50,000 gallons average daily water demand, and one thing I should say is, no matter how less this is, all of them still have to provide those infrastructure plans. Everybody goes through the process. Everybody, no matter the tier that a data center falls through, insofar as it's a data center, it has to go through a conditional use permit and meet all the criteria. These tiers just simply acknowledge the nature of the industry. I can put it that way. With regard to tier 1, the minimum setbacks, if a low-intensity data center it has no diesel generators, no gas turbines, no combustion-based backup generation, then it has to be minimum 500 feet from all lot lines of schools, hospitals, childcare facilities, nursing homes, public parks, religious institutions, and residentially zoned properties. These are usually the elements that create the negative externalities, the noise, and so on. If it doesn't involve any of this, then it's just like any other, you can call it small warehouse, almost like a contractor storage yard, so to speak. So that is required to be minimum 500 feet separation from those protected uses. If it involves any of this, then it has to be minimum 1,000 feet. For the second tier, these are more intensive as one goes up. The building, for example, increases from 50,000 to 250,000 square feet of gross floor area. Peak demand increases from less than 10 to 10 megawatts to 50 megawatts. If you fall within this tier 2, it has to be minimum 1,000 feet from all the protected uses in terms of location. If it is a tier 3, these are the super scale, greater than 250,000 square feet of gross floor area, greater than 50 megawatts peak electrical demand, greater than 500,000 gallons average daily water demand. Basically what you have in South Haven, what you have in Memphis. If you have any of this, it has to be minimum 2,000 feet from all lot lines of schools, hospitals, childcare facilities, nursing homes, public parks, religious institutions, residentially zoned property. So this buffer, this setback requirement is one of the measures with regard to dealing with noise. The second and the third, the Board of Zoning Adjustment may require that that distance be increased when reviewing the application. So the regulations before you have that provision. The Board of Zoning Adjustment can look at the particular area, look at the other existing uses around them, especially if they're already noisy, because noise has a tendency to kind of add the noise waves, they add to each other and they can become significant. So the Board of Zoning Adjustment can require that that distance be increased. Lastly, and this is important, the noise from routine operations, including primary and accessory structures and uses, and all energy systems that include generators, turbines, anything from that particular data center, shall not exceed 45 decibels and not all 45 dBc between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m., that is in the night, and shall not exceed 65 dBA and 55 dBc at any other times, that is during the day. 45 dBA is the sound of a refrigerator in the house. So inside a single family home, 45 dBA is the sound of your refrigerator. Nobody in their bedroom hears the sound of a refrigerator booming in the kitchen, for example. And this is not the sound at the residential property line. This is the sound at the property line of the data center, which shall be minimum 500, 1,000, or 2,000 feet from the residential property. So there is absolutely no way that with this level of sound control, anybody living in a residential property will hear any sound. We actually bought a sound meter. I went out and I carried out an experiment twice using this, and there was absolutely no sound. 3 times during the day, I carried out an experiment using this. So this is not the sound at the property line of a residential property. This is the sound at the property line of the data center, which must be 500, 1,000, or 2,000 feet, depending on the tier from a residential land use. The second has to do with water. Any water used in that facility must be closed loop. I have to mention, we have to ensure, in other words, the water basically has to be recycled to cool the system. The study must show no negative impact on public use of water in the city of Olive Branch with respect to quantity, with respect to water pressure, with respect to cost to other residents in the city. The study must show that there will be no negative impact. And if that impact begins to show up, the Board of Zoning Adjustment will step in and address that particular issue. Containment system required for all cooling fluids. No discharge of untreated processed water or chemical waste to municipal stormwater systems, drainage infrastructure, or the sanitary sewer system at any time. And lastly, any water infrastructure upgrades shall be fully the responsibility of the data center developer, not the responsibility of the city of Olive Branch. One other very important one I forgot to include in here. City well, where we have our wells in the city, you cannot have a data center within 1,000 feet of a protected wellhead in the city. So that is also included in the regulations. The next has to do with power. The study must show no negative impact on public use of power, availability, cost in the city. Any power infrastructure upgrades shall be fully the responsibility of the developer. The use of systems such as generators can produce all kinds of fumes, environmental concerns. The regulations specify that any backup diesel generators shall be a minimum of tier 4. That is the highest under EPA with respect to environmental cleanliness. It's the highest level that you can have. And generators shall be tested only during the hours of 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday during the day. Those are the most intensive, busy hours in the city. With respect to waste heat, the study must show no negative impact on public use of power or heat in the system. Any thermal discharge, venting, or exhaust from any equipment from that data center cannot raise the ambient temperature at the property line of that property up to 4 feet, So, any thermal discharge, venting, or exhaust from any equipment, machinery, or operation shall not raise the ambient temperature at any external perimeter property line above naturally occurring conditions when measured at a height of 4 feet above ground level. So that is to ensure that we do not have heat dissipating, and the instruments to measure this, all of that have been provided in the regulations. Any rooftop or wall-mounted heat exhaust systems shall be equipped such that we do not have heat escaping from these areas. One area that is worth addressing is decommissioning. Data centers can sometimes almost be like gas stations. They can go out of business, or they're relocated to different areas. There are attempts today to relocate them to space. If they are all relocated to space, what happens to the ones that have been constructed on Earth, so to speak, here on the ground? The city protects itself. These regulations seek to protect the city by addressing the element of decommissioning. Before operations begin, every data center, this is basically like what we do for subdivisions. Every data center operator must provide to the city of Olive Branch an irrevocable letter of credit of sufficient amount to cover the elements of decommissioning. And it's irrevocable. That means it basically endure insofar as the life. It's not something that the very next year it's going to expire. No, it remains in the books. The board has before it a number of options. About 4 months ago, when the mayor asked staff, planning staff, to start looking into this issue of data centers, there were basically a number of options before us, mainly 3. The first was a do-nothing option. Just let it go. Don't bother about it. Do nothing. We're hearing the term data centers. It may come one day, it may not come to Olive Branch, so do nothing about it. That was the first option we had. That option does not protect the public interest in any way. It leaves the city of Olive Branch as exposed as it were in Memphis, as it were in South Haven. Noise pollution, problems with water, problems with electricity, and so on. So that is a do-nothing option that we did not find tenable. The second is to impose a moratorium. This is an option that certain cities and counties have adopted across the state and across the country. But it still leaves the city exposed to legal challenges with regard to any moratorium when it comes to a use. A data center potential developer could always argue that a moratorium, for example, denies that applicant certain due process rights. I want to be able to have my day before the city, before any legal entity, approving entity, to examine my application, but the moratorium essentially denies that opportunity. It leaves the city unprotected if a judge overturns the moratorium, and that is beginning to happen across in the country, where those moratoriums are beginning to be challenged by data center applicants. I've forgotten the city, I was reading one this morning. The potential data center, the city passed a moratorium, potential data center applicant filed a lawsuit, and then the board immediately met and overturned their own moratorium because they realized how much the city was exposed. And if a judge were to overturn that moratorium, then the very next day, the data center applicant could walk into the office and hand over an application, and we would be unprotected. So that was not an option, a wise option to take. The third option is what the Planning Commission did. Basically, to review this application, to review the regulations, and the Planning Commission has held 3 public hearings on this, made a number of changes from what the initial proposal was, added a number of things, have started worked on this for 3 months, and then finally proposed the regulations, recommended for approval the regulations that you have before you. So the Planning Commission at its meeting on July 14 approved and recommended same that the Board of Aldermen amend the zoning ordinance of the City of Olive Branch by repealing the language that is struck in the draft that you have and adopting the provisions that are underlined in the concerned sections of the zoning ordinance attached in your packet. Amendments, I should indicate, include with regard to signs in the M1 and M2 zoning districts. Those are also before the board for approval in the text that you have. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saul. Board, any questions on this staff report?
I got a couple. Can you go back to where you, with the timeline, is there a time on that, like no generators at night and things at certain hours? Was it 9 p.m.?
Yes, sir, I believe. Yes. Generators shall only be tested basically during the day between 12 p.m. and 5 p.m. Those are the most active hours of city life, so to speak. Not in the morning when folks may still be sleeping, or in the evening after work. And even with this testing, this does not imply that while those generators are being tested within those hours, the noise at the property line can increase beyond 45 decibels. No, at all times, the noise at the property line cannot exceed 45 decibels, whether you're testing the generator or not testing the generator.
So that's to stop the noise from traveling, I think, up to 4.5 miles on level land on a quiet night. They say that some of the low decibels you can hear the humming. I know the one over in South Haven you can hear.
The humming noise comes from the DBC element. This is low frequency.
Right.
So our regulations are written to take care of both high frequency and low frequency noise.
To eliminate it at the property line.
At the property line, yes, sir.
Okay.
So at the property line, whether it's low frequency noise or high frequency noise, all of it is controlled.
So if it
by
ever
regulation.
increases past that maximum decibel at the property line, what do we do? Shut them down, or are they outside do they lose their conditional use, or what is the proposal on that?
The Board of Zoning Adjustment has the powers to withdraw the conditional use permit.
Is it immediate or?
I'm sorry, sir.
A hearing? Okay.
Yes, it will require a public hearing. So if we had complaints that this particular data center noise is, they're getting noise from it in the neighborhood, we will go to the property line, we'll do all the measurements, notify the property owner and basically say, you're in violation. You have to tone down whatever noise you're producing here. If that doesn't happen, we'll bring the applicant, the developer, before the Board of Zoning Adjustment. And the Board of Zoning Adjustment has the authority to pull that conditional use permit, to basically revoke it and require that data center be shut. And the Board of Zoning Adjustment has done that with some businesses in the city.
But before they ever get to this point, they'd have to get a CUP or conditional use permit. To ever get to that point, they'd have to agree that this is what they're going to do.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Their study and all the structures, all the instruments they have in there will have to show that they will meet this standard. And they will commit to it. The Board of Zoning Adjustment in the granting of the conditional use permit is basically granting it subject to all these conditions being met. So if at any time any of these conditions are not being met, then the data center is in violation of the conditions of its conditional use permit, and that permit is therefore subject to revocation. And right now we have nothing in the books right now. We have nothing.
Additional questions on the staff report?
One question, I know everybody's concerned about the data centers, but on the office signs, where we're reducing the monuments on the office, we're reducing the height they can have. Do we have any signs in the office areas now that are going to exceed and will have to be grandfathered in, or is that going to be an issue?
If any sign exceeds, it would be grandfathered.
Okay.
It will not be taken on to the day that the sign is taken down. Then it will be required to meet those new regulations.
All right.
Do we have any smoke shop things or whatever, what are they called, cigar bars or whatever they are, within, that'll be outside the ordinance and be grand, or will they, something like that, are they automatically outside the ordinance immediately?
Within 500 feet of a city park, for example.
I'm not aware of any.
No.
None would be in violation
None
today.
would be in violation now. Okay.
Any additional questions before public comments? Okay. Public comments. Dion Jones.
Thank you, Mayor, Board of Aldermen. For those who may not know me, I serve as chairman of the Olive Branch Planning Commission. And I just want to be clear, I'm not speaking tonight on behalf of every commissioner. The commission has spoken through the recommendations it's forwarded to the board. I'm also a resident of Olive Branch, and I care about the responsible growth, our neighborhoods, our infrastructure, and what the community will look like in 20 or 30 years from now. I don't believe we should approach this issue as simply being for data centers or against data centers. Our responsibility in planning is to make sure that if one is proposed, the city has the information, standards, and tools necessary to evaluate the particular project responsibly. There are legitimate concerns: water use, electrical demand, power generation, noise, backup generation, generators, infrastructure, setbacks, and impacts on the surrounding property. Those questions deserve answers, but the questions should not automatically become a conclusion. Data centers can differ significantly in size, cooling technology, water use, power supply, and impact. A problem associated with a facility somewhere else may give us an important question to ask here, but it does not necessarily give us the answer. We also looked at this from a land use perspective. Olive Branch does not have an unlimited supply of large industrial tracts. How we use that land matters, not just today, but for the long-term development of the city. There was also another important consideration during the process. It was explained that without a specific definition and regulations for data centers, a proposal could potentially fall under existing warehouse or storage classifications, and depending on zoning, become a use by right. So to me, creating regulations for data centers does not open the door to them. It gives the city a better ability to control that door. It also allows us to ask the questions and require information before making a decision. How much water will be used? How much electricity will you require, and how will it be supplied? How will the facility be cooled? What are the noise, infrastructure, and surrounding land use impacts? Then evaluate the actual proposal against established standards. And I think that distinction is very important tonight. Establishing regulations for data centers is not the same thing as approving data centers. A future proposal still has to stand on its own merits, and the city retains the ability to say no when a project is not appropriate. The Planning Commission has already demonstrated that we can recommend against a particular proposal while also believing that strong regulations should be in place for whatever comes next. I respect the residents who have taken the time to come here tonight and voice their concerns. I simply hope our decisions continue to be driven by facts rather than assumptions, that we ask the questions, that we require the information, consider the land, establish strong standards, evaluate each project on its own merits. That is what I believe responsible planning looks like, both as a planning commissioner and as someone who calls Olive Branch home. Thank you.
Right on 3 minutes, Mr. Jones. You've probably been on the other side of this podium before, or the lectern. Miss Ashley Shield, Miss Ashley Shield.
Hi, my name is Ashley Scheid. I live at 6303 Darren Drive. Mr. Mayor and members of the board, I want to start by thanking Dr. Asong and Mr. Lewis and the Board of Planning for the work that's gone into developing these data center regulations. I wasn't sure how to sign up today because I'm very much for this ordinance, but I do think that there are a few areas that still leave the city a little bit vulnerable. The updated criteria are significantly better than what was originally presented, and the city has made some very meaningful improvements. I believe that we share the same goal of creating a strong ordinance that serves the interest of the city while simultaneously protecting its residents. However, I don't believe we are quite there yet. I'd like to suggest 3 things to be added to make the regulation stronger. First, put an actual ceiling on water consumption. The ordinance does a much better job of monitoring water use, but there's an important difference between monitoring and limiting water consumption. I would ask that the city establish a maximum allowable water consumption based on demonstrated excess capacity in Olive Branch's water system. That limit should take into account not only one data center, but the cumulative water demand of every data center that could eventually operate in our community. Second, require a drought and water emergency plan. The ordinance should specifically address what happens if Olive Branch experiences drought conditions, water shortages, infrastructure failures, contamination, or an emergency requiring water conservation. During a water emergency, I believe data centers should have mandatory conservation requirements and should not be treated the same as essential residential water use. Third, require continuous noise monitoring. The new noise standards are a major improvement, but for the large Tier 3 facilities, I would ask for continuous, publicly accessible noise monitoring at the residential side of the property. Residents should not have to call City Hall at 2 in the morning and say something is wrong with the noise. The city should already have the data, and there should be clear consequences when the facility exceeds its permitted limits. I believe Olive Branch can be a community that welcomes responsible economic development without sacrificing the quality of life that brought people here in the first place. This is not an argument against data centers, it's an argument for getting the rules right before we approve them. The updated criteria show that Board of Planning has been willing to responsibly listen to the public and make improvements. Our wonderful city has been given the gift of time, resources, and the ability to learn from others' mistakes. I'm asking you to respect your constituents' concerns, protect the people who already live here, and continue this improvement process until we get it right. I'd actually like to end with a question for Dr. Asong, and I believe he sort of was touching on this a few minutes ago regarding conditional use permit revocation. If a data center violates the established ordinance, who specifically is responsible for bringing this in front of the Board of Zoning Adjustment to revoke the CUP? Is it you, is it the mayor? Basically, who are we as a community trusting to ensure the proposed consequences occur if this ordinance is violated? That's it, thanks.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yes. The city's code enforcement department is charged with enforcing the zoning ordinance. So if there's a violation of the terms of a conditional use permit, the planning staff, which has the code enforcement department, would coordinate that with the prosecutor in municipal court if there is not a satisfaction of those conditions initially through an appeal or a hearing at the Board of Adjustment level. If there's not an addressing of those violations, the Board of Adjustment can revoke that conditional use permit. And if there's a continued violation, there's a recourse for the city either in municipal court or in chancery court. But it's the city staff that would be responsible for enforcing the terms of the ordinance or any violations thereof.
Okay, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Michael Scheid.
Hi, good evening. Michael Scheid. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here. I too am in favor of a data center ordinance, but I encourage the aldermen to consider strengthening the current text to better protect the citizens of Olive Branch. So first, please don't remove anything that's in the ordinance now. It's good as is, but there are some areas I believe can be strengthened a bit. First, I ask you to take a look at a particular set of paragraphs in the document on page 7 of the ordinance. So I have the full text here. It's subsection B, location setbacks. There's some inconsistent language in these paragraphs, A through D. If you look closely, the last sentence of these paragraphs, paragraph A refers to residential homes, while paragraph B, C, and D say single-family homes. Just wondering if we could change this language to be consistent. Secondly, in paragraph B of this section, it contains the phrase, but only applicable to AR properties developed with single-family homes. Chairman Lewis advised during the July 14 Planning Committee meeting that the word but be replaced with the word and it looks like this change might have been missed. These sections in general, I believe, are critical to maintaining the day-to-day quality of life for residents at Olive Branch by keeping data centers a meaningful distance from homes. I believe they're very important paragraphs in there. My other concern is regarding the cumulative impact of data centers. So don't believe we should evaluate data centers as if it will be the only one. If Olive Branch has 2, 3, 10 data centers, Lord help us in the future, the impacts are cumulative. But 10 facilities shouldn't mean 10 separate projects. They should mean cumulative water consumption, electricity demand, substations, generators, noise, traffic, etc. I would ask the city to establish a mechanism for reviewing the cumulative impact of the existing and proposed data centers as part of this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak as a proponent?
Mr. Shire,
You're in favor?
Hey, get his attention, Mayor. Hey, where was that? What paragraph was that?
Yeah, so it's on page 7, so 729, location, setbacks, and then paragraphs A, B, C, and D.
Dr. Song, I would think the intent would be for any residential housing, whether it's multifamily, single family, just any residential housing, correct? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak in favor? You're a proponent of this proposed ordinance, rather. Speaking in opposition, Jake Crawford.
I'm not just speaking against data centers. I am condemning data centers. I implore you all to do the same. We're trying to figure out what a data center is, but let's take it from the mouth of the mind behind the data centers. Elon Musk was on an interview, and he said that his God, a new God, was going to rise out of the Mid-South. I'm not a religious person, but I have to face the fact that since the dawn of mankind, man has been trying to define God, and not just that, but trying to become God. Elon Musk has a God complex. He thinks his data center is so precious because he has all this junk data. And the thing about God, God is omniscient. God is all-knowing. And that's what Elon Musk is trying to do. He's trying to gain all the data he can, create AI, and become like this artificial God. I don't want any part of that in my city. I want to stay as far away from it as I can. This is pernicious. It is declivitous. Albert Einstein said that he was the most teleological person that ever lived, and he predicted that technology was going to lead to the destruction of mankind, the abolition of mankind. And the day is coming. If he was here today and saw these data centers, he knew the end was near. Y'all better wake up. God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Crawford. Frankie Gardner, or Frank Gardner, Mr. Frank Gardner.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Board of Aldermen. I'm not going to get as animated. My concerns are mainly for the ecological and environmental aspect of things. I moved to Olive Branch roughly 6 years ago, and small town is why I moved here. My concern is there's a lot of promise economically for a data center. I get it. Trust me, from a business perspective, I get it. The promises of jobs are not as great as they look. Dr. Insung mentioned in regard to size of data centers. For a data center to make any real money, the operator has to be above 50 megawatts at any given time. And their employment is 10 to 15 people. It's not a large head count for the opportunity we're talking about. Now, it may be a large tax base, but I looked earlier on your agenda and you're giving tax exemptions to Williams-Sonoma and then Barrett Distribution, mentioned earlier. What I'm worried about is you're going to see that same thing happen in a few years from these data centers, let alone the ecological impact we're going to have from it. Now, there are options. I'm a realist, and I see this coming, and I realize that no matter how emotional we get about it, we may not be able to stop it. I understand. Closed systems, Dr. Insung. You've heard of those, obviously, right? Because you mentioned it in your presentation. Glycol systems, right? Glycol-cooled systems. That's an option. I would like to see something like that maybe in the verbiage so that we can in turn maybe not impact the water supply with that. And then as well, there's other options. You mentioned decibel levels. 85 dB is the threshold of pain, correct?
Okay, if you will, give the public comments to the board that
I'm sorry.
They have a vote.
That will probably come up in the future in regard to it. And I say this with the idea of South Haven and Memphis, what's going on right now. From Memphis' city council to be starting to use the word moratorium. And I realize it was mentioned, and it's a legal issue attached to that, and I understand. So another option may be to do an exploratory research in regard to the adverse effects of what we're looking at. Again, we've got a great city here. I moved here from Michigan roughly 50 years ago. We had a plant called the Fermi 2 plant go against Lake Erie. You can't drink the water from there, okay? We don't know because of the infancy of data centers and the explosive. It's a big opportunity. No one wants to miss out because everyone is saying you're going to go somewhere else then. But ultimately, we should take the time to really review it before we jump into it. I realize we probably can't stop it, and the money-wise, you probably can't turn away from it. But again, it's for the citizens of it. And again, the planning meeting in June, it wasn't considered even near my neighborhood. Chief and I live in the same neighborhood. I think we do too, Mr. Mayor. We talked about transportation off of 305 and truck routes and all kinds of other things that were mentioned earlier as well. It's the same problem, same problem. And then the gentleman previous, Mr. Dickerson, you mentioned it. Perception is reality when it comes to property values. Whatever the state assesses it is one thing, but in turn, will somebody want to buy it? Okay, before we sign the check, let's please review. Thank you.
Thank you. Final call for public comments, for or against. Final call, public comments. Come forward. And since the clerk doesn't have your card, would you give your name and address so she can capture that for the record?
My name is Pamela Bogan. I'm 7107 Stanley Drive. Good evening, board. I just have two concerns, well, many concerns, but let's see. For the generators, I've heard of cities contemplating them use backup for battery instead of gas turbines, which I think would be a great alternative. And then I think, and I would like to ask a question, where's the wastewater going? And I think that's a big concern. I know in Wyoming, they just had a bacterium problem and they couldn't use their water for irrigation because of it. So I guess my question is, I do like what the man just talked about, and I forgot what it was called, where they conceal the water and reuse it. But where's the wastewater going to go, and how is it going to impact us?
Anything additional?
Is that, can I don't know who to ask.
Well, really, you're giving public comments to the board. It's not a Q&A.
I can't ask.
We give some legal direction, but no, it's really not a Q&A. You just give your public comments about how you think they should vote for the ordinance or not.
So how would we get that information?
I'm not sure.
Well, I think that should be addressed and should be.
It's not a question and answer. It's your public comments.
I'm just stating at this point, since you told me I couldn't answer a question. I just think that should be considered of all the restrictions.
Where the gray water goes, where the water that's been used goes. Understood. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing and hearing none, public comment is hereby closed. Board, any questions or directions to staff?
Mayor, I'd like to make a couple of comments, if I could. I appreciate everybody's input, and I think this has been a long process for several months, and thank you for your concerns and also your research that you've done. I think at this point, I'd like for everybody to realize we are not approving or allowing any data centers tonight. I would commend our staff on the excellent job they did on research to improve the situation that Olive Branch could be in should someone want to build a data center here. I think it's a great job of research. I think it was well thought out, and it definitely protects not only the city but our citizens. And I would like to say this, that every morning most of us get up, at least I do, and we kind of scroll through our phone and start looking at stuff. Then we go to work and we create documents, we create records that need to be stored somewhere. And on weekends and vacations, most of us take this device and take pictures of our memories, and we also like those stored somewhere. So I get it that we have concerns and they're rightfully taken into acknowledgement, and I think this document puts us in a great position to protect ourselves. And I'd like to further add that we can also add to them at a later point and further make them beneficial to the city and the citizens as a whole if need be. So Mayor, with those comments, if nobody else on the board has any questions or comments, I will tender a motion to approve the zoning ordinance adjustments as presented.
Ms. Hamilton, comments? You have comments?
No.
Okay. Any other comments?
I will make a comment that I'm sure not many people here know. When people talk about data centers, I hear a lot of comments and read a lot of comments about how dangerous they are to the environment and to people in general. I found out this weekend, I've been volunteering at the St. Jude Classic this weekend, and I talked to somebody that works out there. FedEx, the St. Jude has got a data center right on their campus. 3 stories, 65,000 square feet, which will be a tier 2 here. if St. Jude doesn't think that it's dangerous to its patients who are there with cancer, to the doctors and staff that work there, the families that are staying on site, don't think it's that dangerous to have a Tier 2 data center right there on their campus. I know there's different levels of it, and South Haven's been a nightmare, but all data centers are not evil. And I know a lot of people, when they hear that word, they just cringe. They don't want anything to do with it. They don't want one around at all, but they're not all as bad as South Haven and other parts of the country that have had really bad problems with them. And I think this ordinance protects us. It limits the ability of a data center to come to operation to just a very few properties. If anybody saw an actual map of once this gets done, they're going to be surprised at how few locations would ever be able to have a data center here in the city of Olive Branch. So I'm totally for this ordinance tonight.
Thank you. Anything additional before Mr. Earhart makes his motion? And Mr. Earhart, if you would consider in your motion to change the verbiage to where it says all residential housing or residential, not single-family, multifamily, but all residential. That's number.
Yeah, sure. It's in. Gentleman mentioned it earlier in his comments. It's subsection B1 and then A through D, where it addresses AR homes and single-family homes. That language does need to be, in my opinion, cleaned up a little bit. I would defer to planning staff as to the best language for that. Typically, I don't think it's a change that's of such substance that would prevent the board from being able to move forward tonight if it chooses to do so. But I do think that if there's a motion to approve, that it include that language to be addressed by planning, just for clarity's sake. Mayor, may I mention one other thing? If the board were to approve the ordinance tonight, the ordinance changes tonight, my recommendation is that the board make those effective immediately for public safety. You have typically under state law, ordinances are effective 1 month from passage, but given that what could occur with a potential application during the course of the ensuing month, my recommendation is the board take advantage of a state law provision that allows the board to say that ordinances are effective immediately if that's necessary to preserve public safety. And I think that would be a wise move for the board tonight if the board's inclined to approve the amendments.
Okay, thank you. Ms.
So,
Hamilton?
Mayor, accordingly, then I think that's wise counsel. I appreciate it. I will add those two things that on page 7 of 29, that language in subparagraphs A, B, and C be changed to reflect any residence housing a family. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay, any residence housing a family.
That's right. For planning staff to
direct
to
them
revise
make-
that language appropriately.
Yes.
That's
Okay.
right.
Clean up a couple of the other areas.
And then also, I do think it is important, because nobody knows what may come in the next day or two, that we do make this effective tonight, immediately.
Thank you. Ms. Hamilton?
Second.
Got a motion from Mr. Earhart, second, Ms. Hamilton. Any more discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much, planning staff, planning commission. I know this has been at least 4 months of work, and if it needs fine tuning later, so be it. But at this point, I feel like this is probably one of the best ordinances in the state, and thank you for the time and energy spent putting it together. Next item. Consideration of application for a preliminary plat for Almondale Retreat subdivision submitted by Greg Smith of Civil Link on behalf of property owners Dane Stovall, James Allen Stovall, Revocable Living Trust. The request is to create 86 single-family residential lots and 3 common open spaces from 50.87 plus or minus acres. The subject property is located on the south side of DeSoto Road at the Marshall County line, approximately 0.86 plus or minus miles east of Center Hill Road. This is in reference to the motion and vote already taken earlier on this land, but staff report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The request before you is to consider a preliminary plat, not a final, preliminary plat for the development of this 50.87 acres piece of property, which you approved the rezoning as the very first item tonight from AR to R1. The property is served by a number of utilities. There's a gas line along the Soto Road. Actually, a water line has just been added following the utilities expansion that the city is doing in that area. Other infrastructure elements are currently under consideration with regard to things like sewer and gas. The applicant, this is the preliminary plat. The applicant proposes to develop this in 3 phases. So phase 1 is this area in green. That will begin from the Soto Road. So construction will begin from the Soto Road. It will have 30 lots in phase 1. You have a common open space recreation area here that will have the lake or large stormwater detention area with a walking trail around it and a gazebo. And phase 2 will connect that subdivision to the Center Hill Retreat to the south, and then that will have 32 lots. And phase 3 is this area here in purple, which will have 24 lots. So this is proposed to be developed in 3 phases as shown. The Planning Commission reviewed this application at its meeting on July 14, determined that the plat meets all subdivision and zoning requirements with the property being rezoned to R1, and made that approval subject to a number of conditions 1 through 13. Condition number 4, emphasizing that sidewalk improvements are required on all the streets in the subdivision. So they have to construct sidewalks on all the streets. Condition number 6, for final plat approval, the applicant will submit declaration of covenants and restrictions, which will impose a number of conditions. 1, the declaration language should include the intent to impose a 2,000 heated square foot minimum house size. And secondly, minimum 75% brick content on all sides of buildings, and address the garage orientation. That needs to be addressed at the final plat and presented to the Board of Aldermen at final plat approval. With regard to the other conditions, I want to call attention to condition number 13. That piece of property basically has been cleared, there are no trees standing out there. Condition number 13 will require that the developer or the home builder will plant 2-inch to 2.5-inch caliber trees in front of each lot. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Board, any questions on the staff report? Does the applicant have anything else to add?
Unless y'all have questions about the application, Greg Smith with Civil Link. So.
I guess it's gonna be 2-story houses. What is it, you gotta address the garage orientation? What does that mean?
That's basically to ensure that there's no front-facing garages. If you look on the plat that you have in front of you, it says that all garages ought to be side-loaded.
Okay.
So that's
all right. Well, hoping you'd say.
2,000 square feet minimum on the footprint, correct?
Yes, sir,
I
that's
read that
correct.
right. Great.
Okay.
Inside, that's good.
Yep. Anything else?
I make a motion to approve it.
Motion, Mr. Collins, to approve as is. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Gamage. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, consideration of application for second revision of bridges of Camp Creek, Phase 2, Lot 12, submitted by Shea Skeen Engineering on behalf of property owner Deepak Patel. The request is to divide the existing 2.93 plus or minus acre Lot 12 into 2 lots. The subject property is zoned C4 Planned Commercial District and is located at the east end of McGregor Crossing, approximately 750 feet east of the intersection of McGregor Crossing and East Bridges Drive. Report, please.
Thank you. Yes, the applicant is requesting to divide one platted C4 lot into 2 separate lots for commercial development at the eastern end of McGregor Crossing, a private commercial road between Highway 302 and Camp Creek. No zoning amendment is required, as this proposal to subdivide is keeping within the general scope of the project text and preliminary development plan for the existing subdivision. And so we have the utilities and transportation aspect shown here. Lot 12 has access to water and gas from the northern edge of Lot 11. Sewer is available to Lot 12 as well. McGregor Crossing is a private road that currently connects to Lot 12. And so here's the detail of the proposed plat. It's just a close-up screenshot of the plat showing the lot to be subdivided. The proposed plat needs to show a continuation of the 5-foot sidewalk drawn across the proposed lot 12A to connect to lot 12B. A gas easement needs to be shown moving across the proposed lots. And the proposed plat satisfies all other requirements in the subdivision design standards. And so for the Planning Commission recommendation, the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the request for the final plat. However, after the Planning Commission meeting, planning staff re-looked at the entire proposal, and we are making a note to, we're suggesting to have number 6 and number 7 replace number 1 and number 2. They're very similar, but number 6, the addition is as I just stated in that previous slide, please provide a 5-foot sidewalk along the entirety of the McGregor crossing, traversing that first proposed lot to connect to that next proposed lot, and then add a note to the plat stating each lot will provide a 5-foot wide utility easement along each lot line. That concludes the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Hackensmith. Board, any questions?
Does this mean we're not gonna get our anticipated Marriott Garden Inn hotel?
If I may speak on it, would that be okay?
I think we'd probably defer that till that actually comes up as an item. Maybe Mr. Earhart could,
Question
y'all could
withdrawn.
speak, y'all could speak offline.
Question withdrawn.
I just don't want to put any business or any company in an awkward position. Any other questions? Do we have the applicant here? Thank you. Getting tired. Mr. Patel? Yes, sir. You may answer Mr. Earhart's question if you wish to, but any questions of the applicant?
Do you mind sharing with us your intended usage of the 2 lots?
Yes, sir. It's 2 hotels. We have one Hilton and then one Element / Westin. It's technically Westin Marriott. Marriott purchased Westin.
Okay. Now it's a proposed Hilton?
Yes, sir.
And the other one?
Marriott?
Marriott.
Marriott. Is it?
Marriott and Hilton. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now we get 2 for 1. Great.
Yes, sir. The second property is it'll actually be the first of its kind in Mississippi. So it's we're really excited about the second one. But first one, we need to get the first one get started first, and then we'll get the second one. But yes, sir.
Well, if he was that bold, then I'm going to ask this, we're still getting our white tablecloth restaurants?
The second one has a chef on site. Let's just say that. It's boutique too, so it's really
okay. Very good.
Thank you for the good news.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Questions?
I do have a question, if this is the time to ask.
I want to know if you needed to add anything else that wasn't covered by the staff report.
No, sir.
If there's no questions from the board, then thank you. You may be seated.
All right, thank you.
Any questions or motions?
That's easy. I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mr. Earhart. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Collins. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next item, consideration of application for first revision of Lot 3 of the second revision of the G.D. Deckelman subdivision submitted by Shay Skeen Engineering on behalf of Peggy Poff and Lisa Marie Reisinger, property owners. The request is to divide the existing 5.45 plus or minus acre Lot 3 into 2 lots. The subject property is zoned AR, Agricultural Residential District, and is located on the northwest corner of College Road and McElroy Farms Drive. Report, please.
Thank you. Yes, the property proposed to be subdivided is one AR lot as shown in the yellow dotted line on the north side of College Road between Highway 305 and Alexander Road. And so here's a screenshot of the proposed subdivision. The lot which is being proposed for a subdivision is listed as Lot 3 in final plat of First Revision GD Deckelman subdivision. The proposed subdivision will not change the existing perimeter of the existing Lot 3. The proposal will only split the property into a 2-acre Lot 3A and a 3.45-acre Lot 3B. A 50-foot wide ingress-egress easement will be provided to allow public road access to and from Lot 3A and Lot 1. The proposed plat satisfies all other requirements in the subdivision design standards. And the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval. And that concludes the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Hackensmith. Any questions, board, or motions? Unless the applicant has something to add?
I make a motion.
Make a motion to wake him up? Make a motion to pass?
Make it.
Motion to pass by Mr. Collins. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Hamilton. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Next item, consideration of application for a final plat of Shirley Homes subdivision submitted by Greg Russell, Civil Source LLC, on behalf of property owner Scott Lawhorn. The request is to create 4 commercial and industrial lots totaling 10.96 plus or minus acres. The subject property is on C2 Highway Commercial District and M1 Light Industrial District and is located on the northwest corner of Frontage Road and Exchange Drive, known as 8263 Frontage Road. Report, please.
The parcel proposed to be subdivided is currently unplatted. There are 5 addresses currently used on the parcel. The applicant is requesting to create 4 lots while expanding a small portion of the southern boundary of the parcel in order to contain an existing parking area. And if I could get the pointer right, it's right there. So water, gas, and sewer access are available to the current parcel. Exchange Drive is a private roadway and will serve as access for 8279A and 8279B. And so here I have a screenshot zoomed into the proposed lot to be subdivided. So the proposed plat shows a 31-foot wide ingress-egress easement across Exchange Drive to allow access to Lot 3, since Lot 4 is drawn to connect to Frontage Road. And so looking at all of the other subdivision requirements, the proposed plat satisfies all reviewed requirements in the subdivision design standards. And so with this one, the Planning Commission also unanimously recommended approval. And that concludes the presentation.
Thank you, board. Any questions? Comments or motions? Motion to approve by Mr. Wallace. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Dickerson. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item. Oh, Mr. Russell.
May I ask something on the last item, please? The reason that we're doing this plat is because Farrell has come in and taken over the
Let me make sure I understand. Are you asking about the one prior to this?
The one y'all just voted on.
Well,
The Homes plat?
Hmm?
The Homes? Yes. Okay.
So
You voted on it before I could ask you, so it may be inappropriate for me to ask now.
well, I did call on you, but we didn't quite make a contact with each other.
Well, my hearing aids are in the
Okay.
shop, so I can't hear anything.
All right, I'm gonna have to ask the legal advice on this one. What particular do you want that they approved it, but do you want something else now, or?
Maybe.
All right. Well, tell us what it is, and I'll let the attorney advise whether or not we can go down that path without having to regroup.
Okay, I won't take but a second. Farrell Gas is moving into the 2 buildings on the north side, and they're using that for their residential home fuel tanks. And what created the need for this plat is the fact that Feral Gas wants to build a dock out in the back of the yard, a concrete dock that's raised 4 feet and has what I call a metal carport over the top of it. And that's for their employees' safety and keep them out of the weather and so forth while they fill these trucks. Feral is actually anxious to get started on this, even though we're just a little bit of ways from recording it. I was going to ask that they be allowed to go ahead and start construction before the plat's recorded.
That is really a process question that ever since Dr. Song has been in position has been coming up, so I don't want to overrule his consistency. I mean, that's really administrative. It's not something the board would approve, but I would say, won't we take that up with Dr. Song and see? I don't want to usurp his authority when he has gone down the path of they got to be recorded before the starts. And I know not all cities operate the same. I understand that, but that's the way you're operating now, if I'm understanding right, or am I missing the point? Is that?
You are correct, Mayor, and I think I had responded to his email on this particular request. So that's something that we can discuss and handle administratively. It does not really affect the plat.
It wouldn't be a board decision. It'd be an operational item, procedural item. So the board wouldn't make that decision. You and Dr. Song would try to work that out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Number 5, consideration of application for the 3rd revision of Ross Road Plaza subdivision submitted by Shea Skeen Engineering on behalf of property owner Marvin Boland. The request is to divide the existing 4.80 plus or minus acre lot 1 into 3 lots. Subject property is zone C2 Commercial Highway District and is located at the southeast corner of Ross Road and West Sandage Road, known as 5950 Ross Road. Staff report, please. Mr. Hawkins-Smith.
The parcel being proposed for subdivision is outlined in yellow and has frontage on West Sandage Road and Ross Road. This lot is currently platted as Lot 1 in the 1-lot 2nd revision Ross Road Plaza subdivision. And as you can see, there are multiple addresses on that singular lot. The current parcel has access to water, sewer, and gas. The current parcel has 5 addresses assigned to different structures on site, with 3 driveways accessing Ross Road and 2 driveways accessing West Sandage Road. And so here I have the detail of the proposed plat. The proposed plat shows the single lot being split into a plus or minus 0.87 acre lot 1 and a plus or minus 1.39 acre lot 2 and a plus or minus 2.53 acre lot 3. The required utility easements are drawn. The front building setback lines are drawn, with all existing buildings shown to exist behind the 50-foot setback. Each new lot will have direct access to a public road, with lot 1 adjoining West Sandage Road and lots 2 and 3 adjoining Ross Road. This proposed plat meets all requirements listed in the subdivision design standards. And so Planning Commission also unanimously recommended approval of this proposal, and that concludes the presentation.
Thank you, Andrew. Any questions, board, or any comments?
This is new to me when you take a contiguous piece of property with several buildings on it and subdivide. And this is more of a question for Mr. Dye, I guess, and planning. If this were to pass and the owner wants to demolish a building and build something else, it does not preclude them from meeting the permitted use by rights and those things, correct?
That's correct. I mean, the permitted uses are set by the ordinance. If they demolish existing structures and build something that's a permitted use within the zone, then that's allowed.
Okay. I've just never seen people divide their property up like this. It's already existed.
Well, the prior application was
Yeah,
similar.
I mean, that's
It had existing structures on it and was previously unplatted, and they were adding interior lot lines to separate. Sometimes you see that if somebody's just wanting to convey a portion of a parcel that's unplatted, they can plat it, and that way they can sell lot 1 rather than selling a meets and bounds description. something of that nature.
Okay.
Just depends
Oh,
on.
there, it's basically like several businesses on the corner of Ross and Sandage, right behind the old TJ's Market. And, they just kept putting businesses on the man's land, and he'd rent them a spot, basically. And, I think it's come to the point that they just want to split them up.
Okay.
But typically, we don't include building footprints on the plat anyway. The plat just is setting forth the dimensions of the lot, not the structures that may be on it.
It doesn't address setbacks or anything.
Now, the plat should address setbacks, and they should be shown, plus the zoning ordinance. So you have a 50-foot building setback shown on the Ross Road frontage.
Okay.
50-foot building setback shown on the West Sandage frontage, so.
It looked like they're all real close together.
Right. Now, you would have some pre-existing structures, I'm not commenting on this one, but hypothetically, you could have a plat that gets recorded, and you could have some old structures that would be legal non-conforming uses, because they pre-existed, they might have been in the setback.
I understand that, but I didn't know what you redrawing them new, whether they would have to conform or not conform.
Typically, they
I
would.
guess we don't let them.
Well, typically, we would allow grandfather that in.
Okay.
Particularly if you had a house, for example. There's probably some setback issues here in Old Town, for example, or Maywood, for example, where you could have setback issues.
I can understand that. I didn't know
Yeah.
about redrawing it. Okay, I'm fine.
Thank you.
Any other questions or motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Wallace, motion to approve.
Second.
Second Collins, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item. Consideration of application for the final plat for Redeemer Baptist Church submitted by Rusty Norville, Civil Engineering Solutions LLC on behalf of property owner Redeemer Baptist Church. The request is to create a single lot of 2.35 plus or minus acres. The subject property is zoned R2, Single Family Residential District, and is located on the south side of Catherine Drive, approximately 300 feet southwest of the intersection of Catherine Drive and Highway 178, known as 5050 Catherine Drive. Report, please.
Thank you, Mayor Aldermen. Before you, it's a request to consider platting this. It's an existing parcel, that's a Baptist church on that piece of property. And all they're requesting to do is essentially just to plat it as one lot. It has buildings on it, water lines, sewer lines, gas lines are available to the property. And I think the church has the intent in the future to do some expansion on that particular site. And to be able to do that, they need to obtain a building permit. To obtain a building permit, you have to plat the property based on city regulations. This is the plat as proposed. There are no sidewalks along Catherine Drive, and as such, the applicant is requesting a waiver of sidewalk requirements. The Planning Commission reviewed this application at its August 11 meeting, unanimously recommended approval subject to these conditions 1 to 5. Condition number 4 being that the requirement for the property owner to construct sidewalks along the Catherine Drive street frontage of the proposed lot is waived. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Song. Any questions, board?
Is this the old Fairhaven Baptist Church?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
And the applicant is here, or Mr. Norville's here. Come forward, please. I know you hate that we didn't put this before the data center, but I'm sure you want to hang out with us for a while, didn't you?
Part of the game. Rusty Norville, Civil Engineering Solutions, 317 West Market in Dyersburg, Tennessee.
And the question was, is it the previous church of Fairhaven Baptist?
All I know
Yeah, that's
is
Catherine.
as Redeemer Baptist. I mean, that's all I know it is. On Catherine Drive, so.
I guess it's changing a lot though. Right? I think it used to be. Is that
Maybe
what
so.
we're doing?
I don't know that it's never been platted before.
It's never been, okay.
It's never been platted, so.
Okay.
I'll let Mr. Norville speak to what their plans may be, but
Do you know the plans?
I don't. The
They just want it
architect's
all
been-
platted as one lot.
Yeah, they need it platted in case they want to move forward with some building additions or revisions.
Okay.
No more, no less, than it's already there.
Yep.
Okay. Is there a motion on this one or a question?
Motion to approve.
Dickerson, motion to approve. Second, please. Is there a second, rather? Ms. Hamilton, second. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Dismissed. Thank you. Item 7, consideration of application for final plat for DeSoto County Schools, Career Technical Center East Subdivision, submitted by J. Kaufman, Allen, and Hostel Incorporated on behalf of property owner of DeSoto County Schools. The request is to create a single lot of 42.50 plus or minus acres to be used for the Career Technical Center. Subject property is zoned AR Agricultural Residential and is located on the east side of Craft Road in the southeast corner of the future expansion of West Sandage Road and Craft Road. Dr. Song?
Mayor, Alderman, before you is a request to consider a single lot subdivision for the DeSoto County Schools Career Tech Center. This will be lot 1, 42.5 acres, as you did mention. I think just 2 months ago, 1 or 2 months ago, you approved the rezoning of this property to AR zoning district, from PUD to AR zoning district, to allow for this career center to move forward. Gas lines are available in the area. Water lines would need to be provided to the property in order for it to move forward. This is the plat as proposed. It meets the zoning regulations for the AR zoning district. It meets subdivision regulations. The Planning Commission did review this application at its August 11 meeting. It approved it subject to a number of conditions, 1 to 5. There is a change that I wish to make on condition number 1, please. Condition number 1, as recommended by the Planning Commission, stipulated that except for the extension of public water to the property, which shall be the responsibility of the City of Olive Branch, all other improvements shall be the responsibility of the developer. We propose to change that or to revise that condition to rather read, all improvements shall be the responsibility of the developer, except to the extent that the City of Olive Branch satisfies its commitment up to $500,000 for infrastructure improvements. I think that is the nature of the commitment that the city has made to this particular development, as opposed to tying it down to just water. And then lastly, with the fate of the DeSoto Innovation District kind of hanging in the air, the board tabled that application to September 1st. That may affect how sidewalks or the trail system is constructed in the street frontage of this particular piece of property. This condition number 4 basically says if the DeSoto Innovation District project were approved, then the trail network would not come right up to the frontage of this property, because it will basically cross Craft in what will be the new Nail Road before this particular lot. And so the trail will not need to be constructed. If the DeSoto Innovation District were not approved, then the applicant will basically need to extend that trail up in front of this property, and that will basically be like the trailhead. The parking lot will kind of serve as a trailhead to close the loop as far as that particular trail system is concerned. That's what condition number 4 seeks to address. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone here on behalf of the application? Anything to add, sir?
No, nothing more to add. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions, board, of the applicant? I know we're glad to see it get started.
No, we're
absolutely.
excited.
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Wallace, motion to approve as presented. Is there a second? Second, Ms. Aldridge. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Staff has asked that the board continue weedy lots to the first meeting in September. Whatever that date is? September 1. If there's a motion to continue it to, motion second to continue to September the 1st, there's some things staff needs to work out with these lots, and they've just asked us to continue it. Motion to, Wallace motion to September 1. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Earhart, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Consideration of bids received August the 10th, 2026 for the Public Works supplies for FY '27. Okay. Request to table this one to September 1 as well. If the motion is second to do that.
So moved.
Gammons, Wallace, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Public hearing date for the budget hearing to provide the general public with an opportunity to comment on the taxing and spending plan incorporated in the proposed budget for the city of Olive Branch for fiscal year beginning October the 1st, 2026 and ending September the 30th, 2027. This public hearing date was set for August the 4th. Any public comments regarding the city's budget and proposed notice? I guess it was not proposed, but notice in the paper. Okay, we don't need to give a high-level overview. This is just for comments only, right? Okay.
Discretionary if you wanted to, but it's mainly the public's opportunity.
If the public has any concerns about the city's budget, I'm open for your comments or questions or input. It's 149 million. I know you don't want me to go line by line, but it's 149 million for next year. Okay, over 52% for public safety and the expense side, for police, fire, and EMS, and just a lot of other various costs. But if there's no public comments, I won't belittle it and keep you here all night talking about that budget. I know Mr. May's ready to get it passed. He's only been working on it 2 months, our CFO. Okay. And public comment section is hereby closed. Nothing required. I want to make sure that we're not missing somebody. I know Crumpers were here for the award, I think, but are we missing anybody else that needed to speak with the board tonight? I just want to make sure that our guests that have been here all night, have I missed anybody, anything that we need to talk about? Okay. Okay. If there's anything I'm missing, let me know. If not, we're getting ready to go in executive session, and then we'll go in private session after that.
We got new business.
Oh, we got another business.
New
All right,
business.
I'm ready to go. Let's do the new business.
Got a bunch of.
Okay, I got you. Very good. I got you. Very good. That's for new business. My bad. Let's go to the new business. Consideration of recommendation to approve change order CO 226 on a contract with Lehman Roberts Company in the additive amount of $108,894, increasing the contract from $2,148,682.50 to $2,257,576.50 for the project referred to as the term bid contract for the annual full depth reclamation and asphalt overlay. Mr. Swims?
Yes, sir. We had some cost savings on the state line portion of the overlay projects that we've been doing this year, in excess of $300,000. And so we've got term bids with this first new business item. Number one is for the asphalt portion that we're trying to take and utilize some of that money for some of the Old Town area. And so this one particular change order here for $108,894 will basically take care of the asphalt overlay for Kerr Road in the Old Town area. So we are recommending we move forward with that.
Questions or comments or motions?
Make a motion to approve.
Earhart motions, or second?
Second.
Second Collins, all in favor? All opposed, ayes have it. Item 2, consideration of recommendation to approve change order number CO 326 on contract with Lehman Roberts Company in the additive amount of $76,500, increasing the contract from $1,757,442 to $1,833,942 for the project referred to as the term bid contract for annual surface treatment.
So this one is basically part of this part B of the overlay. So this is the patching part. So the 4 roads that we're looking at that are going to be affected by the patching is going to be Kerr Street, I guess, Depot Street, and Pigeon Roost, and then Parkwood. So those will all have patching that'll be associated with this. So we are asking that we approve this to under the term contract with Lehman Roberts.
Questions or motions?
Motion to approve.
Hamilton motion, Wallace second, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, ayes have it. Consideration of recommendation to approve change order number 1 on the contract with Vance Brothers Incorporated in the additive amount of $983.60, increasing the contract from $811,738.60 to $915,722.20 for the project referred to as pavement preservation. Mr. Swims?
This would be a second contract. This is Vance Brothers, not Lingman Roberts. This is where we're doing our pavement preservation. So on Parkwood, we're actually going to be doing the patching, and then we'll be coming back with a double micro on that road. So this is just the cost associated with increasing contract, change order number 1 for a contract with Vance Brothers.
Any motion by Mr. Dixon to approve? Is there a second? Second, Mr. Aldridge, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Consideration of recommendation to approve construction, engineering, and inspection services contract with Civil Link Incorporated in the amount of $228,474.63 for the project referred to as the State Line at Davidson Intersection Improvements.
Yes, sir. So if y'all recall, this is the installation of a signal and actually the lane widening at Davidson and State Line Road. We're getting fairly close. This is going to be the construction, engineering, and inspection portion of the contract that's required by MDOT for us to have that in place before we move forward with the next phase going into construction. So we have reviewed it, and we agree that this is a reasonable amount. MDOT's been in agreement with it as well, so we're asking for approval tonight.
Mr. Swims, one question on that. Did we ask for or approve a traffic signal, or is it going to be 4 stop signs with the flashing?
It's going to be a traffic signal.
The actual signal,
Yes,
okay. Thank you, sir. I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Earhart. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Hamilton. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. And now I recognize why the other 2 guests are here with us. So I'm slowly connecting. It's just been a long day. Consideration of recommendation to accept Cigna Health, Dental, and Vision insurance proposals received for fiscal year 26-27. Mr. May, anything to add to that?
No, sir. I would just say that we've got quotes from Cigna that's basically the same plan provided now. There will be no decrease in benefits. Quotes were also solicited from Blue Cross Blue Shield and United Healthcare. We use those quotes to negotiate with Cigna to reduce theirs, get them under the other carriers, and we recommend approval.
Thank you. Motion to approve by Mr. Wallace. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Mr. Earhart, all in favor? All opposed? Ayes have it.
And I just want to commend those 2 for the work they did. That's a lot of wrangling and wrestling, and I know what it takes. So thank you for your efforts there, working with Jason too.
You've had some experience doing that, Mr. Earhart?
I have.
A little bit of experience? Understood. Well, yes, thank you very much. That's not a one-day process, is it? That does take a while. So thank you. Consideration of recommendation to approve change order number 2 on the contract with Phillips Contracting Company Incorporated in an additive amount of $35,146, increasing the contract amount from $2,859,945 to $2,895,091 for the project referred to as Apron Rehabilitation Phase 2. Mr. Swims?
As y'all may recall, last month we actually did a change order that was affecting a different area. So this is some of the same type of work where they did apron rehabilitation work and damaged some of the electrical affecting different hangars. So moving to a different area of the airport, we are requesting that y'all approve this this change order for this electrical issue to be resolved.
Thank you. Questions or motions?
Motion to approve.
Mr. Gamage, motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. Mr. Dickerson, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Is there a motion to leave regular session with the intention of going into executive session? Mr. Wallace, motion. Is there a second? Second. Ms. Aldridge, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, we're out of regular session. Is there a motion to go into executive session to discuss executive session items as listed 1 through 7?
So moved.
Motion from Mr. Earhart. Second, Mr. Wallace. All in favor? All opposed, we are in executive session.